Hello, everyone. Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained. Thank you guys for being here. Let me just click a few buttons. It's the first time I've done this that I can remember. I literally just got in the house, like 4 o'clock, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I gotta run." Everything takes longer whenever you're in a hurry, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I have analyzed three Tyler Henry's live from the other side videos. And you can find those on my playlist, the Tyler Henry playlist, and I think they're just atrocious and embarrassing. So, from what I understand, and I didn't know this at the beginning, that what Netflix had done is they have made this series, and they're calling it season one, whether there'll be a season two, I don't know, where Tyler Henry is brought on a stage. There's a couch with five people sitting on this couch area, and Tyler has a moderator. Her name is Amanda. No idea why they have a moderator, but there is a moderator there. And he comes out. They keep everything lights low, blacked out, and then he walks on stage and he takes his notebook and his pencil and he sits down. Well, before he sits down, the lights come up, and that's how he sees he's going to read. The first person that sits immediately to the left of Tyler Henry is some sort of celebrity. I never know who these people are. Maybe this time I will. I don't know. But Tyler always, so far, has always known who the person is, but he doesn't know in advance. And I really do believe that. I don't think that he knows who the person is going to be. But once they sit down, or once the lights come on, he does know who they are. I do not believe that Tyler Henry is hot reading. Now, Tyler Henry is known for um, always reading celebrities. And I think in those cases, I think they are, I think they are hot reads because when he walks into the room and or walks into the house on the normal series, the Hollywood Medium, he does not know that they're going to be. He might not know whose house he's going to. He may not know who he's going to read, but once he walks in that door and he greets the person, he's got to know who that person is, or he's able to find out within a few minutes. And so when you see the TV show, he knocks on the door, he's like, "Hi, how you doing?" Hugs them or whatever. Maybe he does know them, maybe he doesn't. Then you see him next sitting on the couch or wherever talking to the person, and the cameras are rolling and it's all emotional and he's getting hit after hit after hit. But what I believe is going on is that he comes to the house, he does not know who the person is. He may or may not know who they are when he greets them, and he goes and sits down. That ain't happening. What's going on is there's a lull. There's a time where he has to be mic'd up. They have to make sure they check the levels of the camera angles. They have to make sure everything is just right. And of course, he's going to have time to be able to go to the bathroom by himself. Well, obviously by himself before the reading. And with these little handy devices we all have, when you're alone for a few minutes, it doesn't take long to do a quick look at who the person is and go ahead and look at their Wikipedia pages. Most of these people have a Wikipedia page, and to be able to do a little bit of research on the person they're about to read. I think that's what's happening. And yes, it doesn't take any longer than that. You go down to the personal section of most Wikipedia articles, it's a paragraph long. You get enough to be able to go in hot and have a reading done. And then the motivated sitter, is going to give you enough information afterwards to be able to tell you, to help guide you. And then you can cold read from that then on. And that is exactly what I think is going on in those circumstances. In this circumstances, live from the other side, he is cold reading. And I know that people and even my team members have been able to look and find that they are absolutely um, looking at the able to see the video. I mean, able to he sees who they are. And I think it's kind of embarrassing. What if Tyler Henry comes in and the lights come up and the lights are on now, and all of a sudden he doesn't know who the person is and there's some kind of celebrity? I mean, that would be really embarrassing for Tyler and for the person who's the celebrity. And I know he used to do that on the beginning stages of the Hollywood medium. He'd play all, I have no idea who you are. I'm really embarrassed. I don't know who you are. And they're like, oh, it's okay, no problem. And I get that at the very beginning of his career. But now Tyler Henry is a star and he's heavily entrenched in Hollywood. And he is able to see and attend parties and events, and he's schmoozed and he goes to um, fundraisers and all kinds of things. And I'm sure he watches TV and keeps abreast of who's who and is introduced to people. And it's a big deal to be associated with Tyler Henry because he's a star. So I think it would be very embarrassing right now if he was to walk in and not know who somebody is. That would be really, really embarrassing. Um, so so it's interesting. Okay, what's going on now? So I am broadcasting this live onto YouTube. Hi, everybody on YouTube that has showed up. I really appreciate you guys being here. I won't feel like I'm by myself. I can't keep, um, I can't respond to you right now because I am obviously recording. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show the video. Now, the video that I have is altered. In other words, I have altered it. I've changed it to black and white, made it grainy, and because of fair use, I can use that video. Now, it was recorded nicely. It was a color video whenever it was done live, but I've had to alter it so that I can use it under fair use and for commentary and for review purposes, which is what I'm doing. My plan is after this video today, I am going to do another video, whether it's today or another day, I don't know. And that video is going to be a sum up of all four videos that I have watched. My thought process as I've gone through it and all the hits, all the amazing hits that Tyler has had and what I think is going on and so on. Now, I want you guys to be kind, and I try to always be kind to the people who are sitters because it's coming at them fast and furious. Whereas we, as people watching, like myself and you guys, we're able to stop, slow down. We're not tied up into this emotionally. We can take, we can write it down. We can type it up. We can take notes. We can pause. We can do all those things. And again, we're not caught up in it emotionally. Now, the people who are sitters, from their mindset, most of these people are believers. They know they're coming on a show to get a reading from a psychic. They know it's Tyler Henry. They're probably all jazzed about that themselves. And um, thinking about it, if you're a believer, you may have a lot of emotion tied up in it, thinking about it for days and days and days and days about how hopefully whoever it is you really want to hear from comes through. So they're motivated to get a reading from him. They also know that they're going to be live. Apparently, this is really was live, which was uh, risky for Netflix to do. I find that very risky, but I guess it was popular. But then again, it looks realistic until you break it down and look at it in slow mode, like we break it down like we're doing right now. But to the sitters, the people who are getting the sitting, they they don't have that luxury of being able to do that. Now, it is, how do I say this? People who believe in a life after death, for religious reasons, that believe that they're going to die and they're going to go, there's places to go to and people are living their best life or maybe not their best life somewhere else. To people who have that mindset, usually the people around them, their family, their friends, everybody's also a believer in that mindset. In other words, some sort of deity. And in the Christian faith, that is the strong part of their faith. So when you're raised in that kind of faith, it is very hard to break free of that because if you were to challenge that and break free of that tenet of Christianity, you are going to go against your family and your friends and possibly your significant other and your children and so on. So people don't usually challenge that. Now, if you believe in the afterlife, then you probably also, may have some series of belief in demons, angels, and that kind of thing. And having that mindset already, it isn't take a lot for somebody to say, I can communicate with those people. I mean, once you're already into that belief structure, which I think is pseudoscience, somebody communicating with that side is just like like that. It's nothing. It's just a moment more. And so these people who believe in mediumship are watching a magic act in my mentalism. And I think it's badly done, but I've seen a lot of mentalism, a lot of magic over the years. But I think they're falling for it because they've always believed this is possible. I mean, I suppose if you always believe people could cut somebody in half on the stage and then put them back together again, there's no blood and gore. I think if you always believed it, if you always believe that to be true, and then you go somewhere and you see somebody do that and they say they're real, and everybody in the whole room is like, it's for real. He really did put that woman back together again. He cut her in half, put it back together again. I know I'm exaggerating and it seems really silly, but trust me, I've been in these situations where the entire room is crying. The entire room is just very emotionally caught up in the moment. And the person on stage is saying he's contacting people's loved ones, and the loved ones are like, whoever he's giving a reading to, are like over the moon, crying, snot running out of their nose. I mean, they're totally emotionally caught up in it. And so for the rest of the room, they're going, wow, that must be real. Because it does look real. Cold reading, when it's done well, if you aren't, don't know the tricks of it, it looks real. Okay, so you guys got something to write with? Are you going to take notes? Because this is something else, let me tell you. So I've watched three of these. This is the fourth and hopefully the last. And from what I understand, there's usually five people on the couch. And the person who's a celebrity, whatever they are, they get to choose the other four people. So they're going to introduce them to us. I'm sure I'm not going to know who they are. And especially since it's the fourth episode, I would think they would run with not the celebrity in the fourth episode. They would either say that for the last episode, I think there's 10, or the first, some major celebrity. I don't know who that would be. Oh, I want to mention this. These are celebrities. They want to be on TV. They really badly want this publicity. It's huge publicity for them. So they're more likely to go along with it, even if it isn't a direct hit. Not only are they normally motivated sitters, these people are like really want to make sure it goes well because they want to be on the trailer, they want to be on the teasers, they want all that going for them. They are very likely to do little skepticism whatsoever. They're going to laugh, they're going to joke, they're going to cry, maybe they're going to go along with it because to them it is a freaking big deal to be on TV with this guy. Okay. So keep that in mind that they're motivated also. What I think you should watch for, and I've noticed this in the other ones that Tyler has done recently, actually lots of celebrities, is that these are celebrities and their friends and family, they're giving away an awful lot of personal information that is not kind to their dead loved ones and maybe not dead loved ones. And I think it's just intrusive, and there's something about it. Maybe somebody in chat will have a way of saying it better than I can think of it. But what kind of people go on live TV or even on these other big shows like the news shows, TV shows, and they're willing to just lay down the dirt on their family member, somebody they love or somebody, in their family that is like a sister or something that's living, and they talk about, like, on the first episode, they were talking about the woman's mom being a hoarder and that she had all these difficulties, and that, on and on, talking about her mom. And she's the person who's talking about it is the daughter who's sitting right there, the celebrity, talking about how her mom, the struggles her mom's had, and so on. And then the one I watched the other day, was the brother-in-law of, I think he's the brother-in-law of a person. And he starts talking about Tyler's like, well, how many kids did she have? Again, there's a lot of questions being asked by these mediums because he's cold reading. And they said, oh, she had one. And Tyler says, oh, were there any miscarriages? And the brother-in-law goes, well, there's a lot of abortions. And I'm like, floored that this man would say that about his sister-in-law, dead or alive. It just seemed very, huh, it seemed very crude. And David has given me the word here on YouTube. He says narcissistic, and that may be true. How in the heck? I mean, if you're a celebrity or a celebrity adjacent person, do I mean, a lot of this is find outable, but do you really need to be the one spilling the tea on your family members? I think it's just sensationalism. And what are you thinking? Well, when you agree to go on a show like this and it's recorded, you never know what that psychic is going to say out of their mouth. And you're relying on the efficacy of a psychic medium, not to say something um, unintended or with intention. If Tyler Henry tells a celebrity some kind of juicy, gossipy thing, that can't be cleaned up later. Because if he said, I'm getting your father, and your father is telling me that he had several other children that you don't know about, and he knew about them and he didn't want anything to do with them, and now he feels regret for that. Okay, so let's say he says that. You have no way as a celebrity of saying, no way, that's not possible, because of course you're supposed to not know about him. You can't refute that claim. And now you're going to have just not, endless gossip following you, people claiming to be your long lost brother, and um, what a horrible human being your father was. And it's impinging on his personality and his memories. Even if you know the celebrity knows for sure it is not true. Let's say that your mother had a child and abandoned it. And you know that's not true because, according to the psychic, it happened during the times that you were alive at a time where you were able to notice if your mom was pregnant or not. But if she says that story is out there, even though you know there's no way it could possibly be true that your mother had a child while you were like 8 or 9 years old, and that the child was abandoned or adopted or out or whatever it was, you know it's not true. But the moment it comes out of the mouth of the psychic medium, especially if there's some famous psychic medium, that story is everywhere. And there's nothing you can do. You can denounce it as much as you want, but people are going to believe the psychic medium because it is that psychic medium. And you will forever be fighting that gossip. And in the psychic's mind, they're getting press. They're going to be on, all over the place. It's going to be sensational. Their numbers are going to go up. More TV stations are going to want to run them. They're going to get more press. Their books are going to sell better because they made this bold statement. And the psychic can say, "Hey, I'm just saying what it is the dead person told me." I think it's, I just think it's risky for anybody to get a reading and of some kind of celebrity, but they badly want to be in front of TV, and they badly want to be. You'll see they're dressed to the nines, especially the main celebrity. All right. Okay. So thank you guys for all that intro. Let's go to opening up this video, which better be right here. It is. And let me hit pause. Pause. Let me fast forward it to where we're going. Okay, so this video that I'm going to show you is season 4. I mean, not season 4, episode 4. The first person you're going to see is somebody named Amanda. She's the moderator. And Tyler, you should be able to see Tyler walk in, and then the lights go up, and the people on the couch get up and they hug Tyler Henry, and he's all excited to see him. And they have this camera over Tyler Henry, which is really interesting because the camera over Tyler Henry has they're watching him scribble. And I assure you, there is nothing going on that pad. It is just his freaky thing that he does. So I just realized that since I only have 2 computer screens, I won't be able to see your comments. So let me pull this up on my phone. so I can see actually your comments on my phone because I only have two screens right now. And that way I'll be able to see as you go. So, all right, I will interrupt when I find it's the right time to interrupt, and then I will be making notes all through. So good luck, guys. I'm glad you're here with me together because this is just so weird to do by myself. Okay, so this is Amanda you're seeing right now.
Stage right now. So let's meet Tyler.
Can I get a thumbs up from somebody in the chat to make sure?
Hello, everybody. How's it going? How are you? I'm Tyler. Harry,
Nice
wonderful
to
to
meet
meet you.
you.
Hi, Tyler. I'm Chloe.
Wonderful to meet you.
Christian, nice to meet you.
Oh my goodness,
Hi,
how are
Tyler.
you?
Sarah, nice to meet
Sarah,
you.
wonderful to meet you.
Carter, good to
Carter,
meet you.
so beautiful. I love this outfit, might I add. Thank you.
That's what I said. Hi.
good. Thank you for
All right. And of course, we have Tyler's mom with us today. Please welcome Teresa.
I'm so thankful to have that little woman. She sits over there and she just observes, and occasionally she's the comedic relief.
Yeah, we need that.
So Tyler, today we have from Netflix Perfect Match and Too Hot to Handle. It's the very handsome Harry Jowsey. Yay. Harry, do you want to tell us who you brought with you today and how you know them?
Yes, so Chloe beside me, we met on Too Hot to Handle, and we've been best friends for like 5 years now.
Yeah.
She's my support person. She's amazing. She's one of the greatest people I know. And then Christian, we met on another dating show a few years ago. We weren't dating each other, but we met on this dating show, and we've just been best friends ever since.
Amazing.
And then Farah here is my COO. She does everything for me.
Yes.
She's more of my support human. Like she does everything. She knows everything about me, and she's just the greatest person on the planet. And then there is my other beautiful best friend, Carter.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
All of you, I have to
Pretty and pink.
This is a good-looking group, I gotta say.
Thank God.
One of your angels.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Best.
Well, I'm so
Awesome.
excited to be able to connect today, and we'll kind of see what organically comes through. I always say, I can't force it to come in as much as I just kind of relay what's there. So we'll go through that.
Yep.
Yeah. Any questions before we start?
No, I'm just so nervous.
All right, that's okay. We'll put you all at ease. It'll be all good. And basically, my role as I scribble is just to relay specific information, details that are really only known between us and the person that passed. And generally, I just, as a medium, have to go with the strongest kind of current of information. Some people come through like whitewater rapids, others come through like a drip in a faucet. So I just kind of have to see where I'm organically drawn. Today, I'll kind of put my feelers out for all of you. I just have to say, like, you have like a beaming effervescence about you. It's really interesting.
I love
And then you, I feel like we're going to end up needing to talk about something grief related at some point, be it today or at a later point. But I just very much feel like there's some stuff there for you, and then we'll kind of go all across the board. But Harry, I do see that you have some objects here.
Yes.
So that sometimes helps me just kind of focus on who perhaps we can connect with. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hold on to them.
Yeah, so I got a guardian angel that Christian's mum gave me
Amazing.
ever since I left. And then this is my biggest dream journal.
I
So
love that.
Wow.
if anything
Fabulous.
good will come from
No
that,
worries.
but hopefully.
Let's just see if anything comes in.
It looks like it's a magical sorcery book.
It
Yeah.
really
What kind of
does.
things do you write in a dream journal?
Yes.
You're a wizard, Harry.
That's right.
It does, though. It looks like it's going to pop open on its own.
I have an identical copy at home, and I wish I were kidding. I can show you a
Really?
photo on
Nuh-uh.
Instagram after.
Are you
Yes.
kidding me?
I'm going to give that back to you 'cause
Wow.
I actually have a bunch that I want to talk about. So, and then
Harry,
we'll
what
take-
do you normally write in there? Just all your dreams?
Just whenever I'm feeling a little bit flat and I want to think about the bigger picture and where I want to go in life, I just will write down the craziest dreams, and that's like a magical book because everything always comes true.
Wow, I love that. It's good to set goals and have it on paper. There's real power in that. So
Exactly.
I'm going to just kind of relay everything that comes in, and we'll go from there. So immediately, being that you have international connection, I'm just going to go here really fast. I'm going to talk about living people and people who've passed. When we talk about family, immediately I want to talk about M and M. So let me figure this out in the way this comes across. For one, if I were to ask you what your mom's first name would be, what would that be?
Melanie.
Okay.
Oh.
There's a situation where I have to highlight an M and then another M. And they're bringing up this other M as well and wanting me to include that person. There's a number of things I want to bring up. I need you to know that as alone as you might feel, you're not alone. There's a very interesting feeling of needing you to know that you're different from your family, but in a beautiful way, and that you were here to kind of make for a bigger life than people ever had the opportunity to have in the past. They were limited. This is going to sound kind of strange, but I wonder if some of your family was kind of limited by geography. You know, people are kind of like stuck in a place, like a hole that they feel they can't get out of.
Yeah.
I know some small towns, or at least where I grew up, it was kind of like that, where even when people leave, they come back.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's happened within family with where you're at?
Yeah, I'm in a very small town, and my sister Sarah, don't want to get her in trouble, but she she was texting me saying she's over being in a small town in New Zealand, and she's trying to branch out and do something different.
Yeah.
But the other M, I'm thinking we did lose one of my best friends growing up. His mom, and her name was Meredith.
Got it. So,
Wow.
so that's one of the areas I want to kind of highlight, and they are having me talk about just the past 5 years and the changes that have happened there. If I go,
Harry, were Melanie and your mom, or Melanie and your friend's
Meredith.
mom, Meredith, were they really good friends? Were they
Best
close?
friends.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
growing up. So
when I talk about your mom and your mom's side of family, one thing that does come up is an acknowledgement of being able to break cycles, look at behavior, change things. And what comes through, and this is just good to keep in mind, is on your mom's side, they're having me talk about how we cope, how we handle, how cycles play into things, and just kind of looking at that in this lifetime and being able to look at past relatives and generations and kind of, I don't want to say right or wrong, but find improvement when others didn't so much have that. On your mom's side of family, there's kind of a funny quirkiness that kind of comes through. There's a funniness.
she's a crazy girl.
I don't know if this is just funny to keep in mind when we talk about mom. Check and see if there's any memories of someone having to get down and dirty with an animal.
Wait, what?
Like I'm down and dirty. No, not like that. No, like I'm rolling in the mud or I'm trying to capture this.
Naughty possum.
Yeah.
Yes, not intimacy. We're not that kind of show. But this is more
This is
related
Netflix,
to
but-
having to like wrangle an animal. But I feel like I'm like in the dirt. I don't know how else to describe.
Well,
Does that ring any bells?
we grew up on a farm, and my dad is from New Zealand, so I think there's a lot of crazy memory, well, not crazy weird memories with sheep, but
Yes.
like being
The
on a farm.
wrangling. I feel like I'm in the mud, in the dirt, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny you're responding to
Yeah.
that. Do you know much about his family as far as
Not, I've never met them, no, but
Yeah.
I know that he talks a lot about like the farm and the small town. And, yeah,
That's so sweet.
And the craziest thing was what she just said is like when I first came on to What to Handle, I called everyone naughty little possums. So I don't know if
that's
that's
his signature phrase.
funny.
Naughty little possum.
How random.
Yeah.
No, it comes in. It's very much wrangling and trying to determine that. Now, if I talked about a guy that looked like Santa Claus, and we talk about living people.
It was probably my dad. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
if we
so
go
crazy
there
white hair.
and we talk about like the beard, and I feel like I want to talk about, you know, when someone goes to kiss someone and it's like scratchy, and we're like, ugh, no, shave it.
Yeah.
Having me joke about this in this way, but I got to go to like Santa Claus. I got to talk about Santa Claus kind of appearance, the way this comes across.
Yeah.
When we talk about your dad, do you know if health-wise, and when we talk about like living-related stuff, I feel like I have to talk about well-being.
Yeah.
And I want to, you know, of course, protect the sanctity of people's privacy, but they do have me highlight, since 2020, a little bit of a susceptibility to a health scare around dad. And they're kind of having me talk about hiccup. This is almost basically like a little red flag that would have been presented, whether this was a short hospitalization or having to like get something checked. And then I feel like I get through it, but they're kind of almost going back to it, being like, be careful about this, watch out for this,
Yeah.
since 2020. And that comes in and it's just kind of good to keep in mind. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about there?
Yeah, he's had a bit of a problem with his liver for a little bit and a few other things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's this feeling of him having a much more extreme earlier life than later life. So if he was doing some crazy stuff when he was young, there's stories about him even getting, I don't know if he was drunk when he got a tattoo or if
Yeah.
there's a story about that, but do you know of any tattoos that were gotten
yeah.
in a way that wasn't necessarily?
When we were in Bali, they were pretty drunk and they both got like tribal tattoos.
Yeah.
What?
It's just like very,
How do you know that?
his personality trait. There's a jolliness that comes through there, but what I would say for him is just good to keep in mind. If he gets frustrated, I see kind of getting red in the face, so
Yeah.
like that.
You get like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Probably like that right now.
But we want to
Yeah.
keep in mind for him snoring when he sleeps, which is like sleep apnea, which can sometimes create a heart problem,
Yeah.
and just keeping in mind, of course, the liver, but also just heart keeps popping in, and just
Yeah.
being mindful of that for him.
Yeah, I think my mom is the biggest snorer. I guess we all snore, but my mom is like a train. It's incredible.
put
no,
Mom on
sorry,
blast.
Mom. I know you're watching.
Mom.
Really
That's
put her on
hilarious.
blast.
I would.
No, she loves to snore.
Same with my mom. Sorry, Mom. I know you're watching.
You little.
Okay, let's take a break and talk about it. Otherwise, it gets to be way too much. A typical drunk tourist in Bali. Um, David said that this is starting to feel like a hot reading to you. And I get that. People will tell me that. And I'm still seeing cold reading, just cold reading, cold reading, cold reading, cold reading. And that's why I want to break this down. So let's look at this a little bit here. Vincent, thank you for mentioning about the privacy. Yeah, he's trying to protect their privacy as he's dishing on the family members. That just looks, no, there's no privacy here. All right. He has a dream journal. Okay, so it's Harry, Chloe, Chris with a K. It's Fara, but I think he said Farah. I guess that's how he pronounced it. And then Carter. These are the people that are on the couch. So no family members, they're all just people associated, his closest friends. So he goes, the show is called Too Hot to Handle. I've never heard of it before. I think he said something about a dating show or something dating wise. If somebody wants to put that in the chat, if you want to look it up, I have no idea what Too Hot to Handle is. Harry says he's super nervous. I believe he's a believer. He believes this. And he keeps a dream journal, which looks like it's pretty hefty sized dream journal. And I think that's really interesting to think he says when he's feeling down or when he's having, he's working through something, he writes it all down. So I think that's wonderful. I think that's a very introspective way of managing your life. If you're into that kind of thing, it seems like that'd be really good and inspirational and maybe work things out. But he had this line where he says everything always comes through. Everything always happens. I guess he's saying that if he writes it down, it's going to come through, which is the law of what is it? The Secret. I don't want to get into that. It's way too long. Vincent's telling me it's a reality show and it's quite disturbing, which I don't know what you mean by disturbing. Are they interacting with animals or what kind of disturbing are we talking about, Vincent? Okay. The first thing that you notice when Harry opens his mouth is that he has an accent. And it is not an accent from the United States, which is where they're recording this and where Tyler Henry is at. Okay. First thing you notice, he has a bit of an accent. And I'm not good at that kind of thing, so I'm not really sure where it is, especially since we were only talking about a couple words, a couple sentences he said. But almost the first thing, did you guys catch this? Law of attraction, Vincent. Thank you very much. Yeah. If you visualize it or you pray for it or you want it and you can manifest things to happen to you. That's the law of attraction. Okay, thank you, Vincent. Okay. One of the first things Tyler says is, I'm getting an international connection. Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? International connection. And the man sitting on the couch that is the person you're going to read has an accent from obviously somewhere not in the United States. So it comes through that it's from New Zealand. I'm telling you guys, this is so is the TV show Australian? Well, I guess this guy was raised Harry was raised in New Zealand, he says. So I'm telling you, this is basic cold reading. Tyler starts off immediately with like one of the big tropes for psychic mediums, an M or an N connection. Now, what does that mean? Could be a place, a name, it could be anything. And then he says, what would be your mother's name? Which is a weird way of saying, what's your mom's name? What would be your mother's name? And the guy says, Melanie. Now that might seem like a hot read, but that is cold. That's just a blatant cold read. It could have been his grandmother. It could have been the place he's from. It could have been a last name. It could have been his dad's name. It could have been his pet's name. He did give him an M or an N. It's only 2 letters out of the entire alphabet. That's pretty good odds that something is going to resonate with you that starts with an M or an N. So again, that's not very specific, Tyler. It's pretty embarrassing that you start off with that trope. It's pretty bad. All right. What would be your mother's name? I'm wondering about the wording of that because it stands out because it's so odd. Does anybody have any ideas of why he would say it that way? And these mediums do this intentionally. They'll phrase something to be like a double negative sometimes so that they're right, even if they're wrong, they can go either way depending on what it says. And I'm writing, so I'm not really looking at what's going on the screen. So if it does look like it's a hit in some case, it might be because Tyler sees a reaction to something somebody does. Now these mediums have done thousands and thousands of readings, so they're very good at picking up on your little small micro expressions. And I don't care how stoic you're going to sit there, you're going to give off these kinds of things. We're humans. We relate to people. We nod. We move our hands. Our eyes get wide. We get a curious expression. Our eyebrows do these things. Your mouth does stuff. There are all kinds of things where you can't not give it away. So it if nothing's happening, then if you're saying nothing, if you're just completely stoic, then that's giving away something too. So it doesn't have to hit, but if he sees something like that, then that is more likely he's going to go in that area. So maybe he said M or M and then saw that Harry had a reaction to it in some way, maybe because he knew his mother. He's been thinking of his mother. I don't know. At first thing I thought is his mother alive? He's young enough to believe that both his parents are probably alive. That's where I would go with. But Tyler is on live TV. He certainly isn't going to want to make an assumption that his parents are alive whenever they might not be alive. That would be something else. So I hope you caught it. He gives it away. I really didn't, he starts talking about this guy's place where he lives and saying, well, it sounds like your family has had some stuck in. Oh, it's a dating game. Thank you, Vincent. Okay, so it sounds like it's a stuck in your family has this, you've been stuck somewhere and you haven't had the opportunities. And he's like, yeah, well, where I was grew up in New Zealand, and my sister Sarah, and she's not gonna like this. Well, yeah, you bet. She's saying that she doesn't want to be there. She's tired of living in a small town. How do you think that feels for Sarah and all of her relationships with the people in that small town that she's from are now going to hear that, oh, well, Sarah, what is her last name? Jowsey, Josie. She's too good for us now. She thinks she's too hot for everybody, and she's too good for all of us. I mean, that can hurt your reputation. Anyway, I'm not, I don't know if these people are actually thinking this through, that this is probably not a really great idea to air your public laundry, even if it is subtle in a way like they are. I mean, I know these celebrities or whoever they are have agreed to be on the show, but their family members and the people around them, living or dead, don't agree to be on this live feed with Tyler. So here he says, here because Harry is a motivated sitter. He believes he badly wants this to be real. Okay. He is trying to search in his mind for possibilities to have things hit. And even though Tyler supposedly already got his mom, Melanie, which is the M name, this guy, Harry says, oh, for the other one, like the other name, the other M, which makes no sense because he says M or N. He says, there was my best friend growing up's mom died when we were kids, and her name is Meredith. So Tyler said M or N. So one M's gone, apparently, with Meredith. And now the other M from somewhere he's reached into his memory 20 years or so to find another person who's died whose name starts with an M. No N. And besides, Tyler said M or N. Like an M or N. So then I thought, is your mom dead? Is Melanie dead? She's probably not dead because of his age. And then he said, he's then Harry says, she is a crazy girl. Is. So now Tyler knows, and he's listening. He's done this hundreds and thousands of times. He's listening. He now knows for sure the mother is alive. Right. And then he says, getting down and dirty with an animal. Now, everybody had a good laugh, and because of course they're thinking something sexual from that. But this is what I was talking about before we started, is that a psychic can say something, and that's going to lead a fuel gossip and other things that happen further on in these people's lives. And some personalities, it may hook up with other people's reputations that don't volunteer to be there and to volunteer this information. So if Tyler had completely left it there, down and dirty with an animal, your mom, something to do with the down and dirty with an animal, left it there and never did explain that, how is that going to appear to the mom and her town where she's from and so on? It's kind of So what happens is then he kind of clears it up a little bit, saying that, yeah, something to do with an animal, and he starts talking about mud and some. What about it, Tyler? No, Harry has to step in and say, well, we grew up in a farm. He did say it was a small town in New Zealand. And I've been to New Zealand. It's a beautiful place. I've been there a few times, and it's an amazing place. There are some big cities, but Auckland and so on. But it's a lot of land that is farmland, lots of sheep, lots and lots of sheep, and lots of green spaces and so on. It's a lot of farmland. So Harry's the one who admits to that. And then he says he uses this phrase "naughty little possums." He calls people naughty little possums. Okay, I don't. The sitters give a lot of information. Okay, then something about a man who looked like Santa. Well, there's all sorts of people in the world that are men that look like Santa. And then he says, "Oh, it's probably my dad you're talking about." And then Tyler starts talking about a scratchy beard. Now, anybody who's got a full beard, I don't know if you've ever kissed anybody with a full beard, it's soft. It's not scratchy. It's soft. So I don't know why Tyler was talking about it. When they kiss you or you kiss them and they've got like a beard, that's scratchy. So Santa Claus's beard, if you were to find Santa and kiss him, it would be not scratchy. Trust me. It would be, well, I've never kissed Santa, but oh, the secrets are coming out about me now. I can see the rumors now. So he's the one who admits it's my dad. Okay, now here's where we get to the serious stuff. And people are always talking about, oh, well, there is, let this be. There's no harm in it. Well, I do see harm in this. And by the statement he's talking about in 2020, there's been a health scare with your dad. Okay, so here he is. He's going to give some more personal information about his dad, who did not agree to have this personal information aired on a Netflix show. So he's talking about your dad. He had some kind of hospitalization or a health scare, which means anything. A health scare. And then he says something has been checked since 2020. Well, the dad's probably in his 50s by now. I'm sure he's had something checked. If you go in for just a regular checkup, you're having yourself checked. You get your blood pressure checked. You get a colonoscopy. You get, all kinds of things get checked. So, and if you look like Santa Claus with a bit of a belly on you, then maybe you need to be getting things checked often. And then he mentioned something about heart and so on. And I'm thinking, well, what's the number one cause of death for a man is heart disease, right? So yeah, and then so here Harry goes on and starts talking about liver and other things and giving personal information about his father, who didn't agree to have it on there. David says his dad is dead. Ooh, we don't know that yet. Tyler hasn't caught on to that yet. Has Tyler had any? Ooh, interesting, David. Thank you. I don't think that was clear yet. let's see where this goes. I haven't seen this episode at all, so I don't know. So when I say that things are it's not only you revealing public and private information, and not public, private information about your family members who have not agreed to be on this show. When somebody says, if you really believe in your psychic and the psychic tells you, I want you to get your heart checked. There's something about your heart. Go and get that checked. What the person in their mind is saying is, I better get my heart checked, but that other problem I'm having, that other symptom I see, I'm gonna just pass on that. Like maybe they say I'm due for my colonoscopy and I'm gonna pass on my colonoscopy this year or my mammogram or whatever, because the psychic didn't see anything wrong in that way. The psychic would have said something if that was true. So I'll go get my heart checked, like the psychic says, and they end up skipping on the things that probably are normal, they normally would have done, the other things that they do. Because heart and colonoscopy or mammograms don't usually coincide. So whenever you have to remember that the absence of a can be just as powerful as the actual mention of it. And then lastly here, before we go back to the reading, he's something about a tattoo. He says it really quietly, like that's some kind of that's a bad thing. And then he had already said his liver was a problem, that he'd had a problem with his liver. So Tyler goes on and starts talking about getting drunk. And then somebody earlier mentioned something about that Bali, yeah, getting drunk in Bali. That's kind of a typical tourist thing. And that he got a tattoo. And even if he said, my dad doesn't have any tattoos, he could say, oh yeah, that you know of. So a psychic's going to make sure that they're right, even when they're not right. Even if they're wrong, it's going to sound right. And the snoring in his sleep. Okay, well, if you are a Santa Claus lookalike and you've got a belly on you, you're probably going to snore, right? So we know that sleep apnea and so on. And then he said something about his heart and all that. So now Harry's talking about him snoring and how his mom's supposed to be checking on that and something like that. Let's see if it comes out that the guy's dead. I don't know. This is news to me. It's all brand new to me. Let's go.
Woman.
Oh, no.
Small but mighty,
Yeah.
let me tell you.
Yeah.
She's sawing logs over there. I want to see you, as we take it a step further, this is just good to keep in mind. I'm getting kind of pulled in different directions. Let me look there. Resolve with Dad. I'm getting pulled kind of over here a little bit, so we're just going to switch gears and we'll see, and then we'll kind of jump back and forth. Look here, sorry guys. I have this other person coming in and it's for you, but then it keeps kind of getting... Does anybody here know of one person who died that would connect to two people?
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
So I know it's hard to explain, but I meant to say the two people here that would connect with one person who has died, that person needs us to know, I'm here. It's like cameo appearance, like don't forget me.
yeah.
Were you thinking about this person before this?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
I need it to be known, and sometimes I just kind of get what I get. I need it to be acknowledged. Those two link up with that one, and that one does come through today. So
Yeah,
that
it was
does
our
count.
best friend from the dating show that we did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, it's just kind of like I got to acknowledge that person.
Were the three of you very close?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
close.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was he a recent loss?
It was a couple years ago.
Yeah, 20, 21.
Yeah, I think like 21.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, and then I got pulled in a different direction. So that's good, though. We're kind of spreading the love a little bit.
Okay, good.
And then we will go back to you because you have really, really cool stuff.
Thank you.
I'm drawn over here. I keep getting pulled to you. Let me look. All right. I'll hold on to one of those objects if you don't mind. Either.
Thanks, Carter.
Yeah, anyone
Either
is good. Thank you so much.
My heart is
I
pounding.
You got really soft hands, by the way.
Oh, shucks. Hey. Oh, whoa.
I'm trying to throw them off.
We'll see you after. That's funny. Okay. I'm going to hand this back, and I'm going to read you, is where I'm going. Now, that object, did that connect to you, or is that...
This is
yours. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to separate this in the way this comes across. So, as this pops in, I have to highlight this woman coming in through there. This lady's like a force of nature. Okay. So I want to talk about, when we talk about people who are very independent, and we talk about women in family, I want us to kind of keep this in mind. I have an older lady who comes across who's immediately giving me my symbology of the older I get, the less I want to give up my freedoms. So there's this very much strong feeling of, reasonably as we get older, we'd be like, okay, I understand I'm probably not going to be able to drive. I maybe should look into like resident stuff. There's this feeling of, no, I want to keep things how they are as I do them, and sorry if it's a problem. And there's very much that feeling. The thing that comes through with that is there's these kind of funny feelings of whoopsies or a little bit of cognitive slips, and anytime that comes in, it's usually indicative that the person wasn't able to maintain the responsibility fully of what they had going on. So if someone was not able to live alone, even though they were like insistent that they must or needed help, it's very much that kind of feeling. Do you relate to that at all?
Absolutely.
Okay, who would you connect that with?
That would be my Nona, or my grandmother.
Gotcha, yeah. When we talk about the ladies in the family, where would there be 3 sisters?
3. Well, my Nona had like 7 siblings. There's got to be at least 3 of them.
At least 3. No worries. Good to check in on. And then just one thing that's good to keep in mind, I keep seeing an image, and this is going to be something to look into, of a Raggedy Ann doll. When we talk about Raggedy Ann, it's a memory there. Either someone like dressing up as Raggedy Ann or having the Raggedy Ann doll, but it keeps coming in.
I had one as a child.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any photographs, though. And this is just good to keep in mind. I'm kind of linking up historical and past. What's your first name? I'm so sorry, I blinked.
Farah.
Farah, beautiful name.
Thank you.
Farah, I gotta go there. Do you know of anybody in the family who's currently dealing with any health problems?
Yes, I do.
I have to highlight basically a situation involving living, and then I'm having to talk about well-being or the care of a person. This is definitely not in the context of death, but this is about kind of like a serious kind of processing of medical things. I'm going to the past 6 months and then kind of the future 6 months. What I would say with this is if there's anybody who's dealing with anything that would kind of advance their health kind of rapidly, it would make someone feel a lot older than they actually are. So there's a sense of kind of expedited, I feel kind of like energy drains, sucking my life force.
Right.
But past 6 months and future 6 months, I keep kind of highlighting that.
Okay.
If you're comfortable sharing, do you know who this family member would be?
It could be my mother, who's had a lot of issues with her eyes for several years.
Gotcha.
And she's had corneal transplants,
Wow.
and her transplants, sorry,
Okay.
have often gone through rejection.
I see.
And she's going through that now, so we're waiting for a donor.
I'm so sorry, because the way I would describe this is I feel a lot older than I actually am. And so if we talk about older people, it's kind of normal to lose sight or deal with this lack of a sense, but I feel so much older as I'm going through this. I need you to know in the way this comes in, they're having me talk about pressure, and as this applies, we would talk about ocular pressure.
Yeah.
That being a conversation.
Yeah.
And getting that right.
That
So
makes 100% sense.
that just kind of comes in, and it's just good to keep in mind. So, yeah. Okay.
Wow.
But you're there's a lot there.
A lot.
Did you just feel that pressure behind your eyes?
No. So the pressure kind of for me symbolically, it looks like a volcano. So you know how like magma kind of builds up? That's the picture I see. And then I would apply that in any context to like if it were a heart problem, that would kind of be a different kind of pressure. Sometimes if you had intracranial pressure, that would present differently. So in that context, it's
Amazing.
wow.
Right. Let's regroup again. He's scribbling a lot. And whenever he scribbles like that, it's a delay tactic. He's trying to think, how am I going to go with this? What am I going to do next? All right. Is there a person who died connected to 2 people? And then you see a reaction to people on the couch. Because that was a nonsense statement, obviously. Notice, David, no mention of the dad. No mention of the dad being dead. So let's see. Maybe it'll come up later. Maybe dad will show up later. All right. He skipped that very quickly. He said he ended with something about snoring in his sleep, people snoring, heart, move on, because he needed to move on because he doesn't know where else to go with the guy. Tyler is not, he's normally hot reads. So, connected to two people, and you see an instant reaction between the people on the couch looking at each other like, oh my God, and they said their best friend, who was on the dating show with them, died. And then they have to ask like when and all that. How was it recent? And, of course, Tyler doesn't have any of those details. And he does not have the person's name. He didn't know if it was male or female. He just said somebody. And they had the reaction. So, right. So, pulled elsewhere. The older, okay, it, the guy comes through supposedly, just some guy that Tyler just mentioned, somebody has died who wants to be acknowledged that I'm here. And everybody's freaking out like, oh my gosh, this guy came through like it was such a big deal. But no, they're the one that made the assumption. Okay. And we still don't know a person's name. We don't know how he died. We don't know anything. They had to say when he died. And then I'm getting pulled elsewhere. Tyler likes to say that. I'm getting pulled elsewhere. In other words, I'm done. I don't know how much further to go. I don't want to have to tell people what this guy's name is. I don't want to have to talk about his situation, how he died, why he died, any of that kind of stuff. I'm going to end this and move on to something else because that's how he doesn't want to get in trouble by saying something wrong. So he's going to move before he has a chance to have awkward questions asked of him that he has not got an answer to. Right? So he looks at this towards the end of the couch, and it might have something to do with Mark Edward pointed this out a long time ago because they're in like an L formula kind of. So you got 5 people on the couch, and then there's Tyler. So if Tyler is kind of looking at somebody or pointing to somebody or something like that, if they're at the end of the couch, it's very difficult to tell which person that he's talking about. And it's the angle. It's like almost a 45-degree angle. So, and I think that was what was going on. I'd have to watch it again to be clear. But the 2 people at the very end of the couch, it wasn't clear. I think they weren't even clear who he was talking to. When he says, I'm getting pulled in this area, I'm getting somebody who is, the older they get, the less they want to give up their freedoms. And I think they both kind of weren't sure. And then the woman reacted. And he's like, I'm talking to you, because that's the person who reacted to it. So now it ends up out there. How many people out there cannot wait to feel older and give up their life and their freedoms of how they've been living their lives? They're super excited about getting so much older that maybe they're going to start having cognitive declines and somebody's going to be making decisions for them. Oh, wait. How many of you out there? I don't know of anybody who's saying that. I don't know anybody ever who would say, I'm okay with that. I can't wait. Possibly somebody could say, I'm ready to start my next part of my life. I'm going to move into a home that has facilities for me to be able to socialize more, to be able to have somebody cook for me and clean for me, and I'll feel more secure. I'm looking forward to that. So they are giving away some of their abilities to live independently, but they're making that choice themselves, hopefully. And by doing that, they know they're going to have a better standard of living. They're going to have friends. They're going to have more experiences, somebody else to cook and clean for them, and so on. So I guess somebody could say that, but it's not really giving up your freedoms if you've chosen to do this yourself. Okay. Somebody who's having cognitive slips. Well, lots of people, like most people who are, especially, obviously Tyler's alluding to somebody who's elderly. Now, Tyler started out in 2016. He was 19. He was going to go into a career of hospice. He was going to be a hospice, somebody who cared for people in hospice. And I think that's an honorable, very honorable role. So he's always been very well. I think he's always done well personality-wise with people who are into life, very caring kind of personality. I can see how he could come across that way. But I started with Tyler Henry. I started following him immediately in January of 2016, right as he hadn't even made his first show on the Hollywood Medium. They were promoting him. So I've followed him for a very long time. And one of the things he said early on is that he wanted to become a medium and focus on, when he decided to become a medium, he wanted to focus on people who have unalived themselves. And I can't say the word here on YouTube because that can be a problem with YouTube. So YouTubers have learned to say unalived themselves. So Tyler wanted to work with people in that area. That was it. Never, and I think there was a little backlash because I've not heard him really say anything like that before. Well, he's making his millions elsewhere. But David says, yeah, nobody ever says that. And so does Rebecca says, yeah, nobody ever says, hey, yay, I'm giving up my freedoms. I don't want to live independently and do things the way I've always done them. Yay. Okay. And then Tyler says, who, to the woman, her name is Farah, who would that be? Because Tyler obviously can't know. He doesn't, he's not psychic. He can't know these things, right? And then Tyler has said this. This is the fourth one I've watched of Tyler's. And every time he has made the same statement of this kind, he says, who are the two or who are the three siblings? Or who are the four siblings? Or who are in this case, who are the three sisters? And it usually he throws it out there and people like scrambling to figure out who it could possibly be. And then it goes nowhere because it could sort of apply to people and they're trying to make it fit. Like this person said, well, she had 8 siblings. So I guess there was 3 sisters in there somewhere. And he goes, oh yeah, well, it'll make sense later kind of thing. But so far I've seen him throw this out. And Tyler's the type that pulls from other mediums and starting out young at 19, when he got his fame, they found him and he was doing readings in a shop in some place in California that wasn't like a big town or anything like that. And he has a lot of personality. He's got a lot of kind of a charisma, and he was very willing to be molded into this career. I mean, look, he's done very well for it. Personally, I don't think it's going to pan out for him in the end, but I'll be long gone by then because I think it's going to eat away at you having this kind of life. I don't think it's a healthy life, but whatever. He's doing well and he's laughing all the way to the bank. I think he made probably, millions of dollars from his Netflix show. Anyway, so he seems to borrow from other psychics, other mediums. You feel that he's doing that a lot so if somebody says, and I've seen this with other mediums who do this as well. Who are the two? I'm getting two kids, or 2 kids are closer together. 2 are closer than others. And then you're supposed to be trying to figure out, well, what do you mean by 2? 2 are closer in living together. 2 are closer in relationship. 2 are closer born close together. What do you mean by 2? Twins? So it seems to be kind of like a trope with psychics, but it's one of those Barnum statements that you throw out there that can seem very specific if it hits. But if it doesn't hit, you just move on and nobody remembers that later. So she's trying to fit it in somewhere. And then he kind of says, check on that. This is good to know. Check up on that later. And Raggedy Ann. Raggedy Ann? Raggedy Ann was a thing. And lots and lots and lots of little girls had Raggedy Anns. And Raggedy Ann could kind of be scary to some people too. So, I guess maybe there's some kind of horror films with Raggedy Anns. I don't know. I'm sure that it's out there. There is now. That he says, so the woman who's sitting directly to the left of Tyler, her name is Chloe. She had this giant, oh my God moment. Like that. Because Farah said, I had a Raggedy Ann when I was a little girl. So is most women. Anybody watching who's watching this now who's had a Raggedy Ann? Raggedy Ann means a lot to me personally. It has a lot of meaning for me that I'm not going to go into right now with a very close friend of mine. We had a lot of, yeah, it would mean a lot to me. a Raggedy Ann doll if somebody mentioned that. I would immediately go to the stories and the memories I have with a certain friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. So that's like just throwing out anything. And then something about somebody with health problems, and this was so vague. Why don't you just tell us who the name is? And what about Raggedy Ann? What about Raggedy Ann? We never did find out what about it. Somebody with health problems, something about 6 months, they feel older. When you get health problems, I think you would feel better. I don't think people who have health problems feel younger. Yeah, I'm just, my knees are going out on me and I just feel so much younger and youthful these days. I mean, that's what I'm saying. As I'm watching these things, I'm almost embarrassed for Tyler, and I'm embarrassed for the people who are watching this and going, "Oh, this is amazing." And I'm thinking, "What the heck?" I mean, this is nonsense. All right. Somebody who feels older in 6 months. And again, just as I said, here comes the person giving personal information about your family members that did not give permission to have this all over Netflix and all over the place. That my mom, oh, it's probably my mom. She's had lots of problems with her eyes. She's waiting for a donation for this and on and on and on. And it's like, really? Do you really want to give that information about your mom? That's really personal. And she's the one who hit it. Tyler didn't say who it was. He didn't even say if it's male or female. He just said somebody health issues in the last 6 months, and now they feel older. And he kind of is like, well, I don't know why she would feel older if it's just health, if it's just her eyes. Well, yeah, come on. And then he said the word pressure. Now, I have a very good friend who has eye problems. I'm not going to say who it is, but in many conversations with this person, they've brought up the phrase eye pressure. It's a common phrase used for people who have eye issues. And so Tyler comes up with this something about pressure. And then he said, of course, she just said it was eye problems my mom is having. And so, of course, and then they're like, oh, well, yeah, that would have. And then, like, let's describe what do you mean by pressure? What do you see? And Tyler makes up a bunch of, it's just crap he's making up. Oh, I see a volcano. And then if it's heart disease, it's a different kind of volcano. If it's a brain, then it's a different kind of volcano, kind of like, what do you mean? Or is it like Beetlejuice with this giant blinking light that comes on with these lights that blink, 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 on a volcano? He's making it up. It makes no sense whatsoever. It really is. Yeah, and Richard mentions he keeps asking he asked Farrah, what was your name again? Well, maybe he really didn't know. I don't know. They're not wearing name tags, but he's still supposed to be psychic, so whatever. Rebecca says, did you notice that that woman host, that's Amanda, she's the moderator, actually made the connection that the friends were close, like she's psychic too. Were you guys close to this person? I don't know who this Amanda person is. I've met her just from watching the show. This is the fourth time I've watched her, and she just seems to interject a little bit here and there, like to keep it going, like to add emotion to it. So that sounds like something she'd say. On the first episode, you'll have to go back to my video that it was the very first episode of this that I watched, and on the playlist for the Tyler Henry playlist, we find out that the day the show aired, no, the day it was recorded, the day Tyler recorded the show for Netflix was the anniversary of Amanda's husband's death. And everybody's like, ooh, that's a huge connection. I don't know why it would be a connection of any kind. But Tyler says, yeah, now she's going to be on this show. In other words, she's going to be famous and a star or whatever he's saying. Isn't that amazing? This life-changing event's happening to her on the same day that it was her husband's, either it was the anniversary of her husband who died, or it was her husband's who had died's birthday. I can't quite remember. I'd have to go back and look, but don't make me go look. But anything would be a connection. The day she signed the agreement to be on the show could have been a moment. It could have been her husband who had died's birthday, or anniversary of his death. It could have been the day she applied to be on the show, or they reached out to her to be on the show. Could have been that day. Any day could have been it. It's hard to say. All right. Oh, and I wanted to mention that TV show, Too Hot to Handle, it's a Netflix show. So Netflix is plugging their own stars. I bet all the other people who have been on the show are also Netflix related people. I don't know because I don't have Netflix. I'm not paying that kind of money. And I really just, I have other things to do. If you want to watch Netflix, fine, that's wonderful. You at least know these people. I don't have a clue. All right. We have 26 minutes left. Whether I go all 26 minutes for this video, I told you guys it's going to take me at least 2 hours to get through this whole thing. It just does because of the commentary and breaking it down and discussing it. All right, so here we go. Back to the show. Thanks for hanging out with me, you guys still. I think I hit a button I should have hit. We tried again. Okay.
Pressure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's very, very interesting. All right. And we're going to navigate all across the board. You guys have all such good energy, and I would love to stay in touch after this as well. Like, and be able to like continue this. But we're going to take it a step further. What I want to do is I want to go to you and see if I can pull anything out there. Did you bring any objects today?
I did not. I just brought myself.
Your beautiful energy. That's okay.
Yes.
I wonder if that's
pink
what
coat.
I'm kind of getting. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Fabulous. Let me look and see. Without giving any information away, have you lost anybody that you would like to hear from or not so much?
Yes.
Okay.
Someone very close to my mom.
Got it. Okay. I'll kind of keep the feelers out if anything comes through in that regard.
Okay.
For you, I would love to connect. Did you bring any objects today?
Yes.
I would love to hold on to them. And I'll be very gentle.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful. My goodness. I love that. Okay, so we're going to talk about family, various things, and we're going to kind of go all across the board. What's interesting for some reason is when we talk about your family, one side of your family comes through and the other side doesn't. I don't know why.
That makes
Were you
sense to me.
closer, much more to one side than the other side, or?
In credit, one side is the closest family unit I've ever seen,
Yes.
and the other was just
Kind of
very dissociated my whole life.
Got it.
Wow.
Would this object at all connect to the side of family that we're close with, or not so much?
Close, both.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Cool. Just want to make sure I'm on the right track. I'm going to make sure I don't spill that. Just spilled on Harry. Sorry. It's going to smell absolutely lovely from here on out. Okay. So when we kind of go back generationally, this is kind of interesting. You have a dichotomy of people who live really old, and then I have someone who hit me kind of closer to the middle, and I want to figure out where that is. So when we talk about people who've lived over 78 within family, off the top of your head, can you think of a number of people?
Did you say 78?
Yeah, 78 and over.
Okay, and how far back?
I mean, just kind of generally.
Okay,
Like,
I've got 2 that basically hit that age or thereabouts.
got it. Those are kind of the appropriate ones that I want to highlight. I have to highlight one that would be hitting me a little earlier than that, and that's the one I'm kind of interested in, that it is giving me a sense of like lack of resolve. So do you know basically of any like people who would have been more closer in the middle age department?
So my grandfather on the side I wasn't very close with.
Right.
He died when I was 3, quite a bit younger than
Got it.
you'd expect. And when I was growing up, you know, all of my family and everything would just say, you're the spitting image of him, your energy and everything. But I never got to meet him or know him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There are certain things that come through that basically indicate that if some family or individuals had dealt with the problems they had today versus back then, things would have been workable or more treatable in some respects.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Do you know of any, I was trying to figure out what this is, and this is one of those things where I'm not really sure. I was going to get like a reference. No, I don't know if I want to say that.
Just go for it.
Are there
Go for it.
Does anybody here have any, what I would describe as like ethnic sounding M names in the family? The only thing I could think of was like Michelangelo, Michelle.
Oh my god, my
Yeah.
mom's called Michaela.
Okay. Okay, that could work for me. Can we talk?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to hand this back to you just because everything's looking good.
Say hi because she's watching.
Oh, hello. Okay, let's talk about mom's side of family, that kind of stuff. We'll kind of go all across the board there. This is kind of interesting within your family. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if there were reports of psychic abilities within family. So if multiple females in the family had psychic experiences themselves, weren't really sure, but didn't know how much to kind of own it. Around you, they keep showing me the repetition of numbers 1111, 333, also 911, and this is just good to keep in mind. So two things this will apply. One, repetition of one number. Separate from that, you're going to see 911. Don't worry when that happens. But the first thing I want to talk about, so the repetition of numbers, does that make sense?
I have 1111 tattooed on my arm because I see it all the time.
Yes.
Wow. So I see it so much.
So all good. And that, oftentimes does act as kind of a synchronistic sign for people to say, hey, this is, kind of a reminder that I'm on the right path. And that very much feels
Chloe,
that.
can we see it? Can you show us the tattoo?
Oh, I love that. Oh, very cute.
Wow.
How long have you had it?
I've only had it a few years.
Okay.
Yeah, a few years.
Wow. Do you know, and this is a sensitive subject, but there is an acknowledgement of within family, a reference to pregnancy loss.
Yeah.
And basically the acknowledgement of a great difficulty there. But I want to say, in the way this comes through, I keep seeing my symbol of resilience and strength, and that not defining the entirety of someone's view as a mother. So it's basically a way of saying, if there's this pregnancy loss, it's okay, in the sense that it doesn't determine the future of what my entire future looks like. And that comes in. So almost as a sign of hope, in a sense.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Chloe, if you feel comfortable, will you share with us what that means to you?
Yeah, I know that my mum's mum, she lost a baby because she had an ectopic pregnancy. And there's a I don't want to go too deep into it.
That's
but
okay.
Of course, yeah. There's an acknowledgement of the family that was able and is able to be born and continue and evolve. There's a very strong emphasis on mom's side of family around people being able to say things towards the end of their life that they weren't able to say in the beginning. And I say that to you because I think you will get some clarity around certain family matters. There's kind of this sense of someone at the end of life. I don't want to say like a deathbed confession, but kind of like at the end of life being like, I need to kind of clear the air here. And that comes in. So there will probably be some discoveries that kind of fill in certain blanks.
No, definitely. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then just really quickly, do you know of any like really strong religious dichotomies in family at all? Like two very different religious views slamming into each other?
Yes.
This
is crazy. So my family's quite wild.
Yeah.
But that back in the day, my nan, she entered the church and she's now a Christian. Yeah. And she's like been the backbone of the family, and she like saved my granddad from religion. Wow. And he would have been in a very different place.
Yes. Yeah. It's so interesting how love, when put first,
Yeah.
really can unite people regardless of belief or ideology. Yeah. Harry, I want to go to you. Do you have any men in the family that do?
Okay, so let's stop for a second because we're getting there. Thank you guys for hanging out here. Some of your comments. Vincent says talking about abortion should be a taboo subject. Wow, how disturbing. Well, it wasn't abortion. It was talking about don't make me say the word because I don't know if I can say it. A pregnancy that was not viable. It wouldn't have gone through like a miscarriage or something like that. But yeah, I know he's still talking about these kinds of things without permission of anybody else and just being right out there. And Rebecca says, of course it works practically. Anything someone wants to agree with will work for him. It makes me mad. Yeah, it makes me really mad too, because this guy's got a Netflix show. And anything he wants to do, he can do, and he's got millions and millions of dollars, and people are holding on to it. And because of what he does, he and what Netflix and all the other enablers do, they make it possible for all the other mom and pop kind of psychics to exist. And a friend of mine who has a YouTube channel named Fleur, her name is Fleur. Her YouTube channel is Florida, the Florino's Phantom Files, FLEUREO apostrophe S, Phantom Files. You should check it out. She's going to do a series on, she's coined this new term called fast food psychics, which are those people on TikTok and stuff that do, just somebody pops up and they do readings or tarot or whatever. I've never heard that phrase before. And I asked her and she says, yep, I made that up. Fast food psychics. I thought that was very clever. Okay. Oh, yeah. And Rebecca says he's got no shame. He's still continuing going on about the subject after she's obviously not comfortable with it. Well, it's him getting the fame or her, and she volunteered to be here. So I guess he doesn't care. All right. Good insight, you guys. Okay. Okay. We left off at pressure in the eye. Have you lost someone you'd like to hear from? He goes to the person at the very end of the couch. Now, how would it feel to know you are the person who got to be on the show only because they had a space for a fifth person, the token fifth person? I'm not as close of a friend as the others. Okay, so I get to sit on the end of the couch. Yesterday, or not yesterday, on the show before this season, episode 3, he never got to the person at the end of the couch, and he says, "We'll talk privately afterwards because I wanted to have a private reading with you." Because I didn't get to you, I didn't get anything. So here's this poor guy at the very end. He says, "Is there somebody you would like to hear from?" And he kind of goes, "Well, yeah, it was somebody very close to my mom." And Tyler's, "Okay, well, we'll talk about that later." Next person just completely goes, somebody else. I'm being pulled over here. So I don't know why he did that. Possibly because he had an idea to move to somebody else for he didn't feel like he was going to get enough feedback from this guy. Or he thought, oh, since he has somebody specifically he wants to hear from, I'm going to have to come up with something specific. And I don't have anything specific. I don't have a name. I don't have a death or anything. I don't have anything. He didn't even know if it was male or female. So maybe that's why he ran from that. So he goes back to Chris. And he says, "Are you closer to one side of the family than the other?" Again, how does that make the family feel that's watching this? Oh, yeah, we're very close. I must be on the side of the family we're just not close at all. Nobody likes Chris, or Chris doesn't like us. And, there's family drama, or who knows, whatever reason. Okay. And then he says, this is so odd. He says, "Do you have any people over 78? And then the guy even had to clarify it, Chris with a K. He had to clarify it and say, "Over 78? Did you say over 78? And he goes, "Yeah." No, where do you get the number 78? It's just very random, isn't it? And so why would Tyler throw that out there? Why didn't he just say, "I want to talk about and name of the person name," and say, because for these reasons? But no, he never does. He just says somebody over 78. Well, just tell us who, Tyler. And the guy comes up with 2 people. And then he says something about somebody who is, I keep saying the word somebody and something because Tyler's never specific. So of course I have to say somebody and something because that's what he's saying. Tyler says that something about somebody who died before you would expect to have normally have died. And then Chris says, "Yeah, the side I'm not close to, my grandfather, he died when I was 3. And people tell me that I'm the spitting image of that, my grandfather." Now, I thought Tyler would run with that because it's obvious if he's not close to that side of the family and the grandfather died when he was 3, then it seems like it would be an obvious one to go gravitate to because the guy doesn't know anything. Tyler can say anything. He can say, that your grandfather is watching over you. He's quite proud of you. He, when you graduated, doesn't have to say what he's graduated from. He was there and he was beaming with pride, and he wanted other people to see how proud he was. And when you first took your first, I shouldn't say steps because of course he was 3 when he died, but I would think that grandfather figure could have been watching over this guy and showed a lot of pride in him, but and how much he looks like you and how he's in you. And I know you weren't close to your grandfather, but he had a lot of spirit and I can see that in you. I mean, that's where I would have gone, but nope. He moves just completely something else. So Tyler is just all over the place. Cold reading is not his thing. Tyler has done thousands of readings, but cold reading, he's never really relied on cold reading. So I don't think he's kind of got the jam as well as he should. But you know, I don't have millions of dollars and nobody's calling me from Netflix. Like I said, I don't even have Netflix. So obviously he knows what he's doing. An ethnic sounding M name. So this Chloe person who's sitting there in the second position because she's the best. Just that feeling of being sat in these positions is just odd. Anyway, you're going to be sitting here next to me because you're closest to me. I'm sure there was a sitting arrangement. So Chloe, it seems to me, I don't know her, but I feel like Chloe is trying very hard to throw herself into this. She wants to be into this. She wants to have the attention on her. That's how it feels to me. She's had the big expressions like, "Oh my gosh," she's been doing that kind of thing. So she's taking an opportunity to grab on something because she wants him to talk to her now. Ethnic sounding name, that would be me. My mom has an ethnic sounding name. Oh, an M name. M name again with the M's. My mom, I wrote it down and I didn't spell it correctly. Does somebody remember? I put Michea. Michaela? No. Michia? It didn't sound that ethnic to me, whatever it was, but I didn't spell it right. So somebody else can probably do it. And then he's like, "Oh, I see psychic abilities in your family." She's like, "Oh, wow." Of course. Yeah. Another one of those things. And then he says, this is so interesting about the 111. I'm getting 1111. I'm getting 333, 911, and on things in repetition, things that match. And she says, "I have a tattoo that's 1111 because I see 1111 everywhere." And Amanda, thank you, Amanda, for doing this. She says, "You have a tattoo? Can we see it?" Because she said it's on her arm. And I'm thinking like up here somewhere, and she's wearing a long sleeve thing. No, it's right here. So it is in a place where it's the opposite arm that Tyler is sitting next to. Could he have seen it? I don't know. It would be, did she say it's here on her left arm? Left arm. If it's on her left arm inside, then Tyler could easily have seen that tattoo when she's gesturing. Or we'd have to play it back and see. Somebody else might be able to tell better than I am. So then he starts talking about pregnancy loss, and he's looking at her and she's looking like she's going to cry. And he says, "Well, I'm seeing strength." And so then Amanda's like, "Well, if you feel comfortable, Chloe, can you tell us what that means?" And I'm thinking it's relating to her because she's obviously going to cry over this. It's an emotional thing. She goes, "Well, it was my grandmother's sister, or wait, no, my grandmother's child." And then she starts crying. I don't know if I'd get so emotional over my grandmother's child, that she had a pregnancy that wasn't able to be, it didn't go to fruition. It miscarried itself, or they had to take it out because it was not, couldn't be viable. I don't know, but she starts crying and I'm thinking, really? Okay. And then she starts talking about her family being really wild. She's so excited that it's her turn to get to talk with Tyler Henry. And she's talking about her grandmother and how her grandmother found religion. And then she says, "And then she saved my grandfather from religion." I wrote that down with quotes. I thought that was hilarious. She saved my grandfather from religion. I don't think it came out the way she meant it to. Let's see what other comments you guys have. That's so funny. Rebecca says, I'm subbed to Fleur already. I'm stubbed to Fleur already. Oh, you're subbed. You have a sub. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a little. She subbed to Fleur's channel already. Yeah, and I started watching some of her videos. She did one that I watched today on the Warrens. It was and a wolf man, a guy who thought he was a werewolf. That was fascinating. Okay. Adrian. Oh, hi, Adrian. Adrian H. I wonder if it's the right Adrian. Maybe it's some other Adrian. Maybe it's an Adrian from my past who H. Maybe the H. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, Adrian. I thought it was interesting that she said she sees 1111 everywhere. Well, once like you said, Adrian, once you start seeing 1111, or once you start seeing something, you start seeing it everywhere. Once you notice it, you say, "Oh, there it is again," and there it is again. It's just a number. So, whatever. David says, and then he waves them away, and that's when I laughed. I'm not sure what David's talking about, but maybe he means like what I just said about how he starts to get on track with it, and then he's like, oh, and we're off to somebody else now. Oh yeah, thank you, Vincent. It's Michaela or something like that. Mikala or something like that. Whatever it was she said, it was an M name, but it didn't sound at all ethnic to me. It just sounded like a name that I obviously can't spell. And I thought it was interesting how going back, well, I'd already said this about Chris, who's talking about his side of the family is close and the other side of the family is not close. And it was like, that's really cold to your family. Okay, we're over halfway. We can do this, you guys. Thank you for being here. Whoo! Oh, David's talking about, and then he waves them away, the 78-year-old people, and then he waves them away. Yeah, it's like, oh, I really want to hear about something about the people who are over 78. Let's move on.
Art.
Yeah, my dad.
Cool. Just good to keep in mind. There's just a funniness of a proclivity for being artistic, like male feeling with this.
Yeah.
Let me look and see where your parents are living. This is just good to keep in mind. There's some acknowledgement of damage to basically the property, and we talk about basically having to renovate, remodel, or basically fix a part of the property. But I want to be clear with this. The way that this will kind of present itself is there's this feeling of needing to nip that in the bud, and then we just don't, and then it just kind of gets worse and worse and worse. And then we're left like having to fix this. But it comes through, it's going to end up being some form of like a construction fix that would require like a restructuring of a spot. And it keeps kind of coming in.
Yeah, I think my mom has been remodeling the farm and stuff like that after Dad left. He moved to New Zealand.
Oh, got it.
I think she's been, I actually don't know what she's up to. She just keeps building stuff.
Yeah, good.
So many chickens.
Yes, all those chickens. There might end up needing to be the recreation or the fixing of a fence, and that'll be good to kind of look into. And these things come in as random as they are, just often as a reflection that they're aware of our conversations, even if it's in a different country.
Yeah.
But that's all kind of very much coming through, in those terms.
How is that coming in for you, Tyler?
It just kind of pops in almost as if they're like memories that aren't mine, is kind of the way that I would describe that. So it's like, oh, I know I didn't experience that, but I know that there's
Need to build a fence.
I'm like, oh God, I better get the hammer and the nail.
And Harry, you lit up earlier when he mentioned that your mom was a bit crazy, or she had like crazy personality.
With
love.
Yeah.
Just like, can you just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think my mom has like one of the biggest and like best personalities, and like she's just not afraid to be herself.
Yeah.
She's like very like large in a room, like
She's amazing.
Wonder
She's
where
the
you
most
get it from.
authentic.
I was just going to say, I feel like you
Exactly.
have that same personality.
well, not today. I'm so nervous.
That's okay.
But in general, I feel like you have that from her.
Thank you.
And she's watching.
Yes.
And she's by the phone in case you need her support.
We
do,
love
right?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so two things come in. One, around Mom, this is just good to keep in mind. I have to joke about someone getting a really, 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 really bad sunburn. Not that unusual, but like I'm having to really bring this up. There are susceptibilities to skin cancer conversations that are recent, and I need to bring that up.
Yeah.
So where would that be?
I had it 3 times.
Oh, no way. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I've had skin cancer 3 times.
Okay, so
and same with my old man, and I think my mom as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it happens, but just good to be aware of. And there is a symbol. There's not a funny story, but an instance where someone got bitten by the equivalent of like a brown recluse. Do you know what brown recluse spiders are? Big ass spider.
Well,
Big spider.
my brother got bitten by a spider when we were kids when he was asleep, and he woke up and he had to go to the hospital.
Whoa.
It's like gnarly, but in the way this comes in, it's like, oh, is it gonna fall off? Hope not.
Pretty much. Yeah, they thought it was gonna rot off.
Oh God.
Terrifying.
All these little things.
He's okay.
No, he's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
He's not with us.
He's still got his
Australia.
arm. Yeah, it's just Australia is crazy.
That's why I'm not there.
Nice. Wow.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, if I go to you in the pink, if we talk about kind of like family and family groupings, do you know, and I could be dead wrong with this, but I want to kind of get a sense of like mapping within family. So do you know of any situations where within a family lineup of siblings, there's more
Okay, stopping for a second. Thank you guys. There's a couple more people who've joined us today. Thank you so much. We're about halfway through this. All right, so we were at the wild family that Chloe has, and that the grandmother saved her husband from religion. Okay, then he moves on, completely just drops that. The men that are artistic. Now, David said earlier that Harry's father is dead. Wasn't he just talking to Harry? Yeah, I think he's just talking to Harry. And I was thinking, if Harry's father's dead, then why is Tyler talking about that at your parents' house in, I guess it's New Zealand, the farm, that there's some things that need to be done, property needs to be fixed up, it's construction and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, wait, Dad's not in the picture anymore. So what's going on with that? And I know somebody else came into the chat, Theodore Morgan, she says, or whoever Theodore Morgan is, just tuned in, but yeah, who isn't facing some kind of problems with their house? Of course. Yeah, I mean, even if you moved into a brand new house, I would think that there would be some things that needed to be done. Maybe it's a brand new house, there's nothing to fix, but I'm going to have a patio added on. I'm going to put a gazebo in the back. So those are construction issues. So as you said, yes, it applies to pretty much everybody, but it feels very specific, especially if you just talk to your mom in New Zealand, who's on a farm, of course, there's a lot of work to be done on a farm. And maybe she just mentioned something about having the heating is going out. You're having problems with the doorway, the doors are starting to make a lot of noises and you're going to have something fixed. If you've just talked to your mom about that, of course, that's a big deal. And then he lets in, my mom is doing the work right now that my dad has moved to Australia. So Dad's out of the picture. Tyler didn't catch that. Tyler said, your parents at home at the farm, they have work to be done. So Tyler blew it, but he just rode right past it, and so that nobody else notices that. We notice it because we're able to stop, start, and we're really paying attention to the words that are being used. But that's a huge miss. Even if he's not alive, or let's say Dad is alive and we thought he was dead, he's no longer in the picture, and he hasn't mentioned that. And then Amanda, she's I kind of see what she's there for. She's there to point out what people are, the obvious, the things that Tyler doesn't really want us to notice. She says, you lit up whenever he said that thing. And I'm thinking to myself, thank you for telling us that, Amanda. She's done that in the last 3 readings also, on other episodes, that she's pointing out that the people on the couch are having reactions to something that I didn't catch because I'm not looking at the people, or the camera's not on them at the moment that they have it. So it's interesting that she's seeing how emotional or how affected they are by what he's saying, because that's cold reading. He's just able to read those emotions. Tyler can see all those things, except I guess when he's scribbling. She's saying you really let up. And then I'm thinking about how Harry, I think it's Harry, or is it Chris? It's Chris. You know what? It's Chris. Never mind. Chris's father is alive. It's Harry's father that died. It's Chris's family that had the farm in New Zealand. Do they have a farm in New Zealand? Gosh, I'm all confused, and I'm not even emotionally attached to this. But Chris's family has a dad who's left that Tyler didn't pick up on. It's Harry's father, who David said when he looked him up is dead. All right. So Chris has the families that are he's very, very, very close to one side and very not close to one side. So he's saying, my mom, she just rocks. She's amazing. She's this and that and the other. And then he never says anything about his dad. So that kind of makes, again, how does that appear to dad or dad's side of the family who might be watching this? How by dissing one side of the, by praising one side of the family, you're dissing the other side of the family. If you have multiple siblings and you talk about what an amazing sibling you have and how awesome and what a rock star your sister is, what does that say about the other sister or the other brother? Your psychics do this a lot. Well, they'll say, I'm getting a Nicole, and they're like, oh, that's my grandchild. And they're like, oh, well, here's what they're saying about your grandchild and how they love their grandchild and they're watching over her. And, she goes to piano recitals and we just love that stuff. And they're saying praise, 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 praise about Nicole. But now what about the other grandchildren that are never mentioned? How do you think that makes them feel to know that this world famous psychic is the dead are not watching me? My grandma, she has a favorite. It's Nicole. Nobody cares about me because I'm the third child or whatever. First child, doesn't matter. The point is when they mention somebody as being very special, it makes anybody who's not mentioned to feel really, really not special, especially when we're talking about dead people who are supposed to be watching over and so on. And so I'm sure dad and dad's side of the family and that kind of thing probably feel pretty bad about it. And something about a bad sunburn, skin cancer, watch out. Something about a sunburn, watch out. Well, okay, that's good news. And then he says he's had skin cancer 3 times. Tyler didn't say that. He just said somebody should watch out for it. Right? And then that guy, I think it was Chris. No, not Chris. Maybe it's Harry. I don't know. I've got him all confused now. They did a close-up of him going like a Home Alone expression. And then something about a spider, now, all right, for those people who are not in New Zealand or Australia, when I first started going to New Zealand and Australia, and my American friends all talked about how there's bugs and animals in Australia that want to kill you. That's like a trope. We all talked about it. I wasn't afraid of it because I know darn well that no, I'm not going out into the bush and wandering around and no, I'm going to be in a city. There's not going to be, killer drop bears or anything like that or hoop snakes or anything where I'm going to be. So I thought to myself, that is a trope in a lot of ways that they're in Australia or New Zealand. So you mentioned something very scary about it, that something is going to try to kill you. And so he's like the equivalent to a brown recluse. In other words, a very, very dangerous spider. And so he brings it up. Now, it could have nothing to do with the fact that we've just been mentioning New Zealand and Australia. But in Tyler's mind, that's what I'm thinking is going on in his mind. He's like, oh, I'm making a natural assumption about very, very dangerous animals and spiders and stuff like that in New Zealand and Australia, associating with it. And I'm going to bring that up. That's what I think is going on. But I don't know that's true. I mean, because he could have just said to anybody, what's this about somebody, somewhere, something, somebody getting bit by a spider? And it was very, very bad. Okay, let's see what's going on over here in the David says, so I was checking for a hot read and I wound up knowing his future. Oh, you're talking about the confusion I just had over Chris and Harry. You're saying Harry's father's dead and that Chris's dad has left the family. I think that's what we're talking about. And thank you, Sharon Karen. Oh, what a cute name you have, Sharon Karen. Love your content. I wish the algorithm would love it too. Well, I do too, but it is kind of a niche what I do. This isn't a typical YouTube channel where we have, pop-ups and kazooies and bangs, and I show videos of things that are really clever. I'm not that way. Rebecca says it's not uncommon for people from Australia to have skin cancer. I don't know that for true. Is that right? I don't know. Okay, and then Rebecca says, was the dad dead when the video was made? No, I think I just got the people confused, Rebecca. And then David says he died or somewhere around December 4th of this year. Oh, that would be like a couple weeks ago because we're recording this December 16th. So David, you're talking about Harry's father died. Tyler hasn't mentioned anything about it. Are you sure that a few months after recording this, Tyler doesn't say anything about his father dying in the future? He's talking about, and Rebecca says, we don't know when this is taped. When was this taped? I think this has been out for months. Somebody interviewed me for this show, and I don't want to pull it up right now because I don't have it handy, but that's a really good thing to know. So, a man who writes for he writes for Rotten Tomatoes, or he does critical reviews of reality shows. He interviewed me, and I wasn't paying any attention to Tyler Henry. And I just noticed that in the last couple days that I said, oh, look at this critique that come up on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm reading the article and I noticed I'm quoted in it. And I said, oh, that's right. I did read this before. It's the man who's a reporter. I'm looking for his name. And of course, I can't find it because I've got lots and lots of notes. But he's the person who said, almost, Tyler gets things right, almost as if he's able to read their Wikipedia pages. Andy DeHart, Dehart. I wrote it really fast. I'm sorry, you guys. His name is Andy, and he writes reviews about reality shows. And I think that article, if somebody could find it really quick, would be able to from that article, you can tell when this thing was, at least I think he interviewed me back in April or something like that. So I think this might have been recorded at the beginning of the year. I know it was released in 2024. So David says, yes. So the guy died December this year, just a couple weeks from when we're recording this. So Tyler didn't, well, we still got more reading to do. We still haven't watched it all. So we don't know if Tyler is going to say something about say something to Harry about, you probably should spend a little more time with your dad. I think you should go home and spend more time with him. I think it's important that you reach out and get more family memories with your father, especially. I don't think he's going to say that because he ain't psychic. You don't know. Okay, here we go. We can do it. We're doing it. Yay! Thank you guys for being here with me. Oh my gosh, this feels so good.
Females than males.
Yes.
So like a guy with a bunch of sisters.
My dad is one.
This comes in, it's like, oh, is it gonna fall off? Hope not.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, they thought it was gonna rot off.
Oh God.
Terrifying.
All these little things.
He's okay.
No, he's fine.
Yep,
Yeah. He's not with us.
He's still got
Australia.
Yeah, it's just Australia is crazy.
That's why I'm not there.
Nice. Wow.
Yes. Oh goodness. Okay, if I go to you in the pink, if we talk about kind of like family and family groupings, do you know, and I could be dead wrong with this, but I want to kind of get a sense of like mapping within family. So do you know of any situations where within a family lineup of siblings, there's more females than males?
Yes.
So like a guy with a bunch of sisters. Or
my dad is one of 3 sisters.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Lucky man.
So he's
lucky guy.
Wow. So a lot going on there. That side of family is kind of where I'm inclined to just be kind of drawn to. It's good to keep in mind.
Understood.
What's interesting is there's more religiosity on one side than the other, and that strikes me as kind of interesting. Do you see that to be the case? Or?
Definitely.
Okay. Which side is more religious?
My dad's side.
Yeah, gotcha. That's kind of far. Yes. In the way this comes across when we talk about dad, there's just an acknowledgement of, and the only way to articulate this, let's talk about the 4. Really quickly, how many siblings do you have?
I'm an only child.
You're an only child. Woo, me too.
Yeah. Okay, you get it.
I love it.
We're aligned.
How many immediate cousins do you have? Basically, how many grandchildren would your grandparents have?
On my dad's side, I have 2 cousins.
Okay, 2 cousins there, and then you'd be the third.
Yeah.
Where's this fourth? Do you know if anyone suffered a miscarriage or lost a child? Because I'm bringing up the fourth.
I have 1 cousin on my mom's side.
Okay.
So that would be the 4.
Got it. Okay. Let me just take this a step further. Ooh, there's that. Because I feel excited for you, like excited for your future. The way I would word this is they're putting a very strong emphasis on entrepreneurial pursuits in the next year. And this keeps coming in really, 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 really clearly. Collaborative. It wouldn't surprise me if someone on this couch ends up kind of like collabing with you or helping in some way to kind of like push that into
That's clearly me.
independent. I love it. It looks good. And then this is just good to keep in mind. I keep seeing you having an opportunity to go somewhere that looks very much like, not normally my place. I would see like, kind of like Las Vegas or something along those lines.
Oh, I love it.
Remember that I was saying
Any
that?
Vegas trip, I will go.
When was the last time you went?
Oh, when was the last time I went? A few weeks ago, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any discussions since then about another trip, or was that just kind of like the big cahoots?
That was the big one.
Big one.
recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I would say is, did you go with anybody on that trip?
I went with a lot of people.
Okay, look to those circles for like business stuff keeps coming in, entrepreneurial stuff. So it's almost like a hint,
Yes.
like the people within that trip, and that comes in. And then I would just say, there's a joke. What in the world? Let me look and see. Check and see within your family. There's this funny thing. What in the world? I'm seeing the Urkel dance.
Oh.
Does that mean anything?
The Urkel dance?
You know, like the Urkel, or wait, is it the Carlton dance?
Oh, the Carlton dance.
Carlton dance.
I've read Urkel.
the
I'm seeing the Carlton dance. I'm like, got my characters mixed up.
My whole life growing up, people have always called me Carlton.
Really?
Well, my dad is a district court judge.
Yeah.
Oh my
And in the
gosh.
show in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air,
Yes.
Carlton's dad was a judge.
No way.
Yes.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my mom is an OBGYN.
Whoa.
And so it was this very, like, I grew up in North Carolina, but it was this very, like, Fresh Prince style upbringing,
Wow.
what people said.
Yeah.
And a lot of people called me Carlton.
Oh, that is
Oh my
funny.
gosh.
Wow.
Were you seeing Carlton
I wasn't
dance?
exactly saying. I was trying to figure out what dance this was. I clearly got my dances mixed up.
like,
No,
it's
I
definitely
think
not
Steve
me.
Urkel had like a
Yeah.
pulling up his
Well,
pants
yeah,
dance.
That's right. And
Yeah.
I've read him.
Okay.
Jaleel White, if you're out there, my buddy, let's do a follow-up
Yeah.
today.
Amanda, I was like, it's definitely not me because I can't dance.
You got so good on Dancing with the Stars.
You were on Dancing with the Stars.
yeah, it
Yes.
was the last
Yes.
season.
Amanda, were you?
I was, yes.
I feel like I'm the only star to not be on Dancing with the Stars.
gotta
Anyway.
be
Oh
on
my gosh,
You and
yes.
us, partners, girlfriend, we're gonna do it.
Wait,
Absolutely.
Carter, can I ask quickly about the entrepreneur? Like your eyes wide open when he said about entrepreneurial stuff and with Farr. Like, have you guys been talking about that, or without? You don't have to share your ideas.
We haven't, but I do feel like I'm in somewhat of a transformative time of my life, where I am going after a lot of different things at the moment, and a lot of incredible opportunities have been coming my way, and I've just been trying to take full advantage of the moment and of the time, and just really chase after all my dreams. So I appreciate you saying that, because
Yeah,
it's definitely
it's
been
like-
something that I've been super focused on.
That's great. It's like the validation of just having somebody say, "Go for it."
Go for it. You're
And
on
then,
the
to like be
Yeah.
behind you.
Because
You're
I
doing
feel like
amazing.
everyone here on this couch, we can all relate to sometimes of hearing no so much in our careers, and that like being told that we can't do something.
Sure.
Or people trying to box us into one kind of thing. And I feel like as of the last year, I've really been trying to take strides to like not listen to that insecurity of someone telling you no.
Absolutely.
And just be like, we have this one life, and we should all be going after everything that we want to go after.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen to
Yes.
that.
You've been doing
So I
amazing.
appreciate you
Yeah,
saying
we're
that.
so proud of you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
Yeah.
proud.
Thank you.
That's really the goal of readings, is to provide that affirmation. Some people need the affirmation that their loved ones are okay, or at least there's still a connection.
Right.
For others, just kind of having that objective nudge from someone who doesn't know you personally
Yeah.
to say, you're on the right track. You're doing better than you think.
Yeah.
Right.
That I hope helps kind of alleviate certain things.
Hey, lots of platitudes out there. Okay. All right. this is not going to come out well. I'm just going to say this now, but I'm going to say this. Tyler, there's one man who's African American on that couch. One person. And Tyler has asked him if there's a side of the family that has a lot more females than males. And it is a trope, a racist trope, to assume that people who are African American are going to be fatherless and have problems with fathers, males in their family. And that they're, issues like that. And for him to acknowledge that and say it like that was, well, I guess if Tyler's just saying, I'm just seeing what I'm seeing, it just felt like he's playing the odds of what would be more common. And I mean, he could have said that to anybody, but he didn't. He said it to this man. And he also said Urkel dance and that Carlton dance. Now, somebody remind me, but wasn't that a man who was also African American that was very nerdy and he pulled his pants up and was a character on some show, kind of like a not a very flattering show. He says it to this man. And then on episode 2 that I watched, there was a group of 5. One person was African American, quite heavyweight. And Tyler tells her, I'm seeing a lot of diabetes in your family. A lot. And the woman responds, everybody has diabetes in my family. And I'm thinking, Tyler, just cold reading is just throwing out what he thinks is, oh yeah, David, he's also mentioning in dancing too. It's maybe I'm overthinking this, but this is what I'm noticing. Okay. So I'm just Steve Urkel, the Urkel dance. Was Steve Urkel a black man? A character that was a real nerdy guy who would say stuff that really nerdy like. And I'm trying to remember. I don't know who the Carlton person or the Carlton dance is. Now this guy is a professional musician. I know that because that's what it said under his name whenever they finally told us who he is. And he seems like a very accomplished, well-spoken man. And to be kind of summed up in a stereotype just doesn't feel right. But then again, Tyler's just going to say, I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm just saying what I'm saying, what I'm seeing. And I get that. Oh, and Vincent and Richard both are confirming that Steve Urkel was, yeah, it wouldn't have applied to the woman sitting on the couch, one of the women sitting on the couch at all, especially somebody from New Zealand. It wouldn't have fit. But he's looking at this man and it fits. I think that's interesting. Okay. So he has to ask a lot of questions. There's one side of the family has more religion than the other, religiosity. Even if both sides of the family are very, very religious, one side is going to have more religiosity than another because they can't be exactly even. So what kind of statement is that? It's a statement that Tyler's throwing out there to apply to both. My dad, yes. And then Tyler always knows the answer as soon as somebody's given it to him. So somebody says, he asks a statement and then they give him the answer and he always says, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm hearing. Or yes, confirming it. How many siblings do you have? He had to ask. And then he says, I'm an only child. He's like, yes, me too. And then he starts asking about miscarriages. Again, that's odd. Okay. Did you have a successful career? I see you having a successful career. In other words, he's not going to tell him, I see within a year you're going to be dead. No, he's not going to say that, which is what he could have said to the other guys about his dad. Your dad's going to die this year. Someone on this couch, okay, and something about Vegas. And he says, I love Vegas. And he goes, oh, did you go by yourself or did you go with somebody? Who goes to Vegas by themselves? Okay, maybe. Or who goes by themselves, but you're there with other people. Yeah, I just went by myself. When was your last trip? It was really funny because the guy's thinking about it. He goes, like 3 weeks ago. Why do you have to think that hard? Did you go with others? Are you planning on going again, or was that the big trip? Well, if you really love it, you love it. And the guy's a young man, he's an entertainer. So it seems like it's very likely that he's going to go again, right? Of course. So this guy says, yes, I was always compared to Urkel and or the Carlton or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because my father is a district attorney, my mother is an OBGYN, we're a very successful family, and it's just me. So my parents have been able to give me a very good life financially, and because they're very well educated and employed and so on, and it sounds like he's going to have a very successful life. And then he says he wasn't on Dancing with the Stars. Well, how long do you think it's going to be before Tyler is now on Dancing with the Stars? His agent, I think, was probably calling right away, being on Dancing with the Stars. And then Amanda, I love this. She says, your eyes were wide open. Again, she's highlighting the fact that these people are having emotions, giant emotions that Tyler could easily read and pull on. And I was wondering if Tyler would give bad news, even if it was not encouraging. Okay, so no other comments from you guys. Let's go and finish. This thing's almost done, I hope.
One thing that, go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, no, no, I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, all good. Well, one thing that does come through that's just kind of good to keep in mind when we talk about, give me one sec. On your dad's side of family, do you have two people with the same name at all? Like anyone named after someone else on dad's side?
Yes.
Okay.
My dad's middle name, O'Brien.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know any military connections if we go back?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm seeing my
Yes.
symbol for the triangle with the flag on it. And
So my dad's grandpa, military.
got it.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So that would be where that would be going. There just kind of is an acknowledgement of opportunities to kind of know my parent as a parent while I'm an adult in a way that I'm not able to know them as a child. And that keeps coming in a kind of
With my
certain
dad?
sense. Yeah, with your dad. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's a, you know.
We've had a, I don't want to say strained. We have a great relationship.
Yeah.
But I grew up gay and black in the South, and when you mentioned religion on the dad's side of the family before, that's been something that was super tough because I grew up very Southern Baptist.
Oh, yes.
And, when you sit in church as a 5-year-old and you hear, if you're gay, you're going to hell, and it's just, that's it. It was not easy for me to grow up knowing from such a young age that I was, and having to know someday that I was going to have to be honest and come out. Wow. And that side of the family, when I did eventually come out, it was not easy whatsoever.
Of course.
And I was not met with love and warmth and welcome from everyone. And that definitely affected my dad and I's relationship for a while. Yes. We have since talked through it. We're working on it still day by day. But I understand what you mean by trying to meet and learn him now as an adult.
Yes.
And him as my parent rather than when I was a child.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tyler, how did you know that? Because that's so beautifully personal.
Well, I think in so many ways, we all have opportunities when we know better to do better. And I find that so true with parents. And my dad was very conservative himself. And then he started having me tell him all these weird things. And he made a choice of either to accept it or to not. But when people put love before ideology, that is really what it's all about. It's a true testament. And the fact that you've been able to carve out a life for yourself and have the courage to be unapologetically you is such a gift. And the world is better for it. And I hope that stories like this are what people take away. Take that thing that makes you unique and different and isolated and own it. We need more, of what you are, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really special.
Thank you for
Powerful.
Absolutely, my friends. You guys are such a wonderful group, and I feel like just in some of the little validations we've been able to touch on today, there's been a lot of really interesting value, different things to consider, and Harry, hope that you know how proud everyone collectively feels when they come in of you. I think you're doing a lot better than you realize. I think that when we talk about sensitivity, you... I wish I could give your soul a hug because you need it. And I want you to know that you're on a much larger path than I think you even fully give yourself credit for. And you're going to be able to do a lot of good with this platform. It's not just superficiality. It's not just about images or appearances. You are so much more than that and deserve to be viewed as more than that, as somebody who truly has real value to offer. And you're just starting. You're going to do so much, my friend.
Wow.
So, when you someday write a book, okay, when you someday do these things where you're able to put words and share information with people in a way that kind of sets records straight, that'll help. That'll help. So.
And we will remind him.
I was just going to say, that's right. Harry, how does that make you feel? Because I feel like your friends all just kind of leaned in on that and felt that as much as you felt that. So how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I think from, losing my first person to mental health, it was always my goal in reality TV just to make people laugh. And Farry's been hearing it since the start. Like, all I want to do is just give people that 40 minutes a week where they just laugh at something silly I'm doing. So it's a great reassurance, because I think the past few weeks I haven't really been feeling like I'm on the right path or I'm not doing enough. And I think I always question it, especially with the internet and reading so many horrible comments and stuff like that. It just makes me go all right, well, maybe I should just have a little bit of time off. But
do you know how healing laughter is, though? I mean, it's literally some of the best medicine that you can give somebody. So you are doing that just by giving people laughter. That is, especially with grief, you have to laugh. You have to find the joys. So that's amazing that you're doing that.
Yeah, that levity is we need more of it in this world. And we are not the comments that people leave in our Instagram, posts, okay? And thank goodness.
Yes.
So
Tyler, when you got a symbol for the man that they both knew.
Yes.
What was that like for you? What did you see?
That was interesting. I kind of had a visual up here and then 2 lines, and both were connecting to that one thing. And so it kind of gave me the sense of, I have a group here, but only 2 would connect to that one.
Was there anything else that came through for that person? Or?
Let's give it a look and see if we can. What was the person's first name?
Tavita.
Okay, cool. When we talk about that, there's a couple different things within that family that I'm just going to kind of relay that you guys will want to kind of look into. There's an acknowledgement of a passing near a holiday, and that's good to keep in mind. So generally when we talk about, that aspect. But this person does not come through alone. So there's actually 2 people that would have passed in about a 3-year period. So I have this person and then I have another, and they're coming in together. Give me 1 sec there. I have to talk about this person talking someone through a very dark time. So the irony here with this, the symbol that comes in is somebody who either talked someone off the ledge and was like, don't kill yourself, there's so much to live for. And then I feel like I save people from hurting themselves. How strange.
Is that fake?
Well, I feel like our friend Joshua Fanks was there through all the dark times, but Tavita was also a youth worker. And help a lot of.
There's a feeling of taking people who basically have no vision of their future, and I'm going to help them with the vision of this. I'm going to get them off the ledge. I'm somebody who was there for other people, relentlessly selfless in a certain sense is kind of the way that this comes in. But then I just don't see applying all that to myself.
Is that for both the people that you're saying?
It's kind of coming through for both, in different ways.
Meredith, who was also someone, again, my mom's best friend, she was a school counselor and helped people like that. And I think that was the toughest thing when she passed, is because you're doing all this amazing stuff for all these people, but not being able to check in with yourself is really, really tough.
If I say Queensland,
that's where I'm from.
That's okay. Random. Good to keep in mind. And then just check and see if there's any memories. What in the world is this? Just check and see if there's any weird stories of having to. Well, for one, holy cow. Anybody's property affected by a fire really badly? A horrible fire that was before and after?
Yours?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Really?
Wow.
It was 2019. There was a lot of fires in Australia, and it got a little bit crazy. And then my mom was like, "I'm not leaving the animals. I'm gonna stay here." And then I think there was 2,000 electrical poles. What are they called?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were all burnt. Yeah,
I love
it was crazy.
a whole thing. I'm glad that they're okay, and I feel good about things generally, as long as Australia doesn't light on fire anytime in the near future. But by and large, just one of my greatest takeaways and why I think knowledge is power is the skin cancer thing does come through really, really clearly. So for mom, for dad, for yourself, just keeping in mind specifically on your back. So this is going to be a little weird and odd to keep in mind, but any spots on your back that start changing shape in an irregular way, I think it might be right now. So just kind of good to look at it, monitor it, and just kind of keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Farrah's like, I'm on it.
I'm on it.
I'm on it.
I've got it booked. I've got them
I'm on
booked.
it.
Yeah.
Tyler, that was incredible.
So was that incredible? I'm curious what you guys all think. If that was incredible. I think it's incredible that he's on Netflix and that they're letting him do live readings. I could see that probably everybody's buying into this who would be watching this. Well, not all, because I've heard some critics of Tyler Henry, people who are skeptical, obviously, who've not bought into it all. But I think for the majority, I think it was probably going to be a season 2. I'm sure. All right. We left off with the man at the end of the thing who's like Fresh Prince. Okay. Dad side of the family. Think of your dad's side of the family. Are there 2 names? Like somebody has been named after somebody. Because that would never happen. I can't even imagine that human beings would name a child after another person. That would never happen. Never. And so the guy says, yeah, my dad's middle name is from somebody else. And are there any military connections? I mean, this is like the beginning trope stuff of cold reading. Why didn't Tyler just say that you saw a coin on the ground and there was a song that meant a lot to you and you heard it somewhere and it brought back all these memories? And there was a feather somewhere. Oh, and you saw a bird. These are the level that Tyler is doing cold reading at. It's really bad. So, did you have anybody in the family that was in the military? And the guy had to go back to his grandfather's. My dad's grandfather was in the military. That's how far back he had to go. My dad's grandfather. Wow. My dad's grandpa was in the military. So in other words, your great grandfather was in the military. How many great grandparents do you have? You have quite a few actually, because you have 4 grandparents. So you would have 4 great, or yeah, if you wanted to go, that'd be 8 people. So if we're talking only the males, and that's 4. Anyway, the point is, of course, somebody has somebody in the military. And what about it? He goes, yeah, because I'm seeing that triangular flag. So I guess Tyler just says he sees little symbols in his brain, and then he's learned to interpret them somehow. Okay, whatever. Know your dad as a dad. Now that's a common thing that it's good advice for people to know when you become an adult, to meet your parent as an adult themselves and to think about their life and their perspectives and the decisions they've made. That's all a really interesting experiment, or probably good for children to think of their family members as humans and adults too. And it's not commonly done. I know I didn't think of my parents as full autonomous humans with loves, desires, mistakes. I didn't think of that at all. I thought, well, why did they do that? Why did they say that? Why did they make that decision? As if they're supposed to be perfect and they like took a test or something before they had children. That doesn't happen. Oh, Rebecca, thank you so much. She says it's 2 a.m. I have to say goodnight. Yes, thank you. Good night. Good night. I love your comments. Okay. So then he says, again, here it goes to that personal stuff again. So he's saying, and this is the person at the end, Carter. he's saying that, yeah, he has a really great relationship with his father now, but they struggled for a while because, and then it gets into a personal story about being gay and being Black and being in the South and being raised Southern Baptist, and everybody in the audience is probably crying in their heartstrings. This is exactly what happened on the second episode. Exactly. Somebody, Tyler started talking about something that led the person on the couch to reveal all this personal story about being gay and about how their family struggled with them being gay and how they had to become accepting. And this is a repeat of that. So Tyler led them to say this. And I don't know, how would you feel about that, being the father of Carter watching this right now, knowing that, we have a good relationship, but we kind of struggle a little bit. And, my dad had a little problem with me being gay and being Black. I don't know why I have a problem with him being Black, but, because I guess the dad is too. But little struggles with him being gay. Well, yeah, I guess, we're talking, he said when he was 5, and the guy's clearly at least 30, so 25 years ago. The world has changed quite a bit in that time. So, then he starts talking about, Tyler starts giving him love, 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 love. And he goes to, okay, then he goes back to the person who's the whole thing is supposed to be about, which is Harry. Harry, the guy who's the first person there, the celebrity on this dating show. Okay, so he says, so Tyler starts giving him a whole bunch of advice. And the advice he's giving him is all positive advice. How much everybody loves you, how, sometimes you feel like you're on the wrong path, but actually you're on the right path. Continue doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. People love you, on and on, all these platitudes and all this positive stuff. And then Harry says, well, I have struggled with knowing if I'm on the right path. Should I take a break? The bad comments you get on videos and Instagram and how it feels. And he he's not sure that he should be going where he's going in that path or whatever. Okay, so it all sounds really good, but this is the problem with mediums. Tyler Henry is in a position of authority. He is the person who is, if you're having a conversation with your friends or a family member or a counselor even, and you're saying, look, I have had some struggles, wondering if I'm on the right path. Should I take a break? Should I maybe take that other opportunity? If you're having a conversation with your family, friends, or whatever, a peer, then you can have advice from them, which is valid, and you take it or you don't take it. And maybe they're going to give you great advice, maybe they're not. But I would think they mostly would be trying to encourage you. Okay, all good. But this position of authority that Tyler Henry, who's communicating with the dead people, by the way, he says, is giving to you, then the advice he's giving you is going to have a lot more weight on it. And I want you to think about what is missing from this. What is missing from the advice? He's telling him you're on the right path, you're doing a good job. Comedy's really important, and you should have a lot more comedy in the world, and it's really great. But what if it is in the best interest of Harry to take a break? What if it's in the best interest of Harry to move into maybe a role that is a serious role, maybe to do Shakespeare or to do, theater on the stage, or maybe to write a book, or maybe to spend more time with his dad, who's going to die later that year that Tyler hasn't mentioned? Tyler hasn't mentioned it. His dad's going to die this year. He just died December 4th. So why is it that Tyler didn't mention that? And maybe what he really needed to do is take some time out and spend quality time with your parents. Maybe that would have been the better idea. Or, as I say, other opportunities may come up that are not in the traditional reality show laughing line of dating scene. And he could have taken that and it would have had a better result or a different result for Harry? We don't know because we don't live in some kind of parallel worlds where we can see all the different results of our actions. But the point of these problems with these mediums are that they say what they think you want to hear, whether it's good or not, as we would to a peer, but we don't know. Again, it's not coming from a peer. It's coming from somebody who can communicate, who says he can communicate with the dead. And that's just irresponsible. Okay. So now I can see I've gotten it. I'm done with this. So now I'm completely done with these videos. Oh. Sorry. Tyler has to ask him his first name. The guy who Harry says, what about this guy you mentioned earlier that was really important to a couple of us because they were on the same reality show who had died? And Tyler says, what's his name? What's his first name? Because, of course, Tyler doesn't know. He doesn't even know what letter it starts with. What was the person's first name? So it was a name that started with a T. I don't even remember. And then he says, he passed near a holiday. That's another trope that psychics use all the time. What does that mean, to pass near a holiday? Considering there's holidays, we're talking in Australia, holidays in New Zealand, holidays in America. Which holidays? There's a lot of holidays if we could add them all in. How about Chinese New Year and whatever's celebrated in the rest of the world? Can we add those holidays in too? And what is near a holiday? What is a holiday he would have celebrated? Like, let's say Christmas. His dad dies on December 4th, but they're talking about somebody else who has already died. Near a holiday. Is that a week? Is it a day? Is it in a month within a holiday? It's just a thing they say because it almost always applies. And the person who's getting the reading, the sitter who's badly motivated to get this reading, will come up with an answer. Yes, that's absolutely true. It was the weekend of President's Day. Oh yeah, it was a Flag Day. I mean, whatever holiday you want it to be. And whatever is near. Another person also died around that time. Yeah, and somebody else. Okay, people die. Can we get a name, Tyler? No, we can't get a name. And then there's this, and then he says, my friend that he's talking about, the name that starts with a T, worked with children. And he was a counselor to children. And Tyler says, oh no, first Tyler says this is somebody who would give advice. He was a kind of person who was really good with other people, and he talked people off the ledge, whatever that means, which means whatever you want it to mean, because it could mean a lot of things. And he says, yes, he was a youth worker. And Tyler leans into it and he's like, yes, because I'm seeing that he was able to, and he leans into it because now that he has an answer, he knows which way to go. He's going to lean into it. And then he goes, but it also applies to the Melania or whatever her name was. What was his best friend's mother's name? Oh, there was that name I can't pronounce that I wrote down and I misspelled. And it was something. No, it was another name. No, I do have it. I have it, you guys. I'm serious. Melanie. So Melanie was his best friend's mother, and she died young, and she worked with children. And so it could apply to both of those. Both of those people could apply to what Tyler said. Now, why is it that it would apply to both people? Maybe it applies to both people because what Tyler is saying is so vague that it could apply to multiple people. And then the person who's the motivated sitter is trying to interpret it their own way. So that's what's going on here, you guys. And then something about Queensland. Okay, now Queensland, for those of you guys who are not familiar with Australia, is a state like the United States has 50 states. So Queensland is a huge mass of land in Australia. I think Australia has, there's Tasmania, and then there's New South Wales, which has like Sydney, and then there's I'm not going to say them all because I'm going to forget one, right? So there's only like 5 or 6 states. So Queensland has Brisbane, which is a huge city. So there's really only 4 really huge cities. There's Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and Canberra. And Canberra is the capital, but it's also not as big. but it still is a big city. Brisbane is massive. I've been there a couple times. So it would make sense that Brisbane, he says Queensland. Now, did something just kick in all of a sudden? And Tyler said to himself, I just remembered where he's from or where he lives is Queensland. Maybe it just dawned on him because he's seen the show, or maybe he's just throwing it out, hoping that since there's only 5 or 6 states in Australia, that maybe he's going to get one right. Maybe, I don't know, he's talking to the dead and the dead decided to mention where the guy lives. Australia has 6 states. Thank you, Vincent. Well, considering 6, you have the odds are 1 in 6. It's not very, very high. Okay, let's see what you guys have to say. Electric Skeptic. Is that how you say your name? Elektric. It's really odd being on my end here where I'm having to say things that I see written down because, in my mind, I'm seeing electric, but it's probably electric. It said, love you, Susan Gerbeck. Oh, thank you so much. That's very sweet. Rebecca says, I have multiple people in my family who share the same name. Anybody else? Oh, yeah. And Tyler threw that out last episode, and I think he threw it out in the episode before that too. Yeah, and I've seen many mediums use that too. They'll say, I see a double, and that usually means somebody who has a name that's like another person's name. That's like, is there a name being passed down in the family? Very common. And Tyler says, Tyler, Vincent says, I'm sure Tyler says that to all the groups. You're such a wonderful group. Yeah. Vincent, he says that to all the groups. And I hope we can hang out further. I just love you all. I don't think you can give someone laughter. Maybe she meant something else. And electric. I'm trying to say it differently because you've got obviously spelled it differently than electric. Vincent, it is bad to grift from people. And then David says, this has some serious bullshit. So anyway, that was really fascinating. Thank you guys for being here with me. Some of you stayed the whole time. Some of you entered late. And I guess some people probably left early, but 2 hours is a long time. I said I'd go about 2 hours. It's been about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So maybe I am psychic. No, that was really interesting. It was fascinating to watch. When I do these looks at different psychics, I like to look at a body of work. And if they're close together, like all the readings in a 2-hour period that they do, or, one after another, I find it more interesting to do it this way because I think what you have, what I find interesting about it is that we can see repetition or styles or tropes, and you get the feeling of knowing better how that person operates. And I think that is that's the way I like to look at a body of work, to look at multiple, not just look at one video or one reading or one, style of watching them do it. I like to see lots, and I know it makes for long videos, but I like to look at the whole thing. I don't want to pick and choose clips that fit whatever I'm trying to apply to. I want to show everything so that there's no question that I'm cutting something out. So if he was to have gotten some really great hit, I want to acknowledge he got a really great hit. And I don't want to just show the worst parts, because showing the whole thing, I think, is, at least it's my style. Of course, it makes for very long, rambling videos, but I'm a long, rambling kind of gal, so whatever. The thing I want to say is there's 6 more episodes. I'm not watching those. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 4 videos and 4 analyses, keeping in mind the feedback I'm getting from people who are commenting on my videos. I really appreciate that. A lot of things I missed that you guys hit on, and a lot of things just make me think differently about how it's being approached. Multiple people who are skeptics that I know who have seen these videos have said they think it's hot reading. In other words, he has information on the person beforehand. And now I'm on the fourth one in this series. I do not see any hot reading. None at all. Unless, like we said, he came up with Queensland because it just dawned on him. Queensland, yeah, it dawned on him all of a sudden that it might have been mentioned on one of the shows that this guy's on. Or it might have been a guess. It could have been anything. I also only like to watch the video once. I like to watch it as if I'm watching it with you for the first very time. You were wondering what, David? Because I'm not psychic, so I don't know what it is you were wondering. He's responding, but I can't remember what I said a minute later. This is, remember, YouTube's on a delay, so I'm only seeing your comments a minute or so after I've already said whatever I was going to say. So I think I'm going to sit and really think this out, and I'm going to come up with one more video that sums up my impression, and I'm going to write this up for Skeptical Inquirer. And I think I'll be done with it. I'm going to wash my hands of Tyler. I know Barry Carr is sick of me writing about, he was very sick of me writing about Tyler Henry, because back in 2016 and 2017 and 2018, I think I probably wrote 10 or 15 articles about Tyler Henry. So he's sick of it. I'm kind of sick of him too. So if you guys have other people you want me to watch, please give me your URLs for absolutely the most the most accurate, or something that's really different, or something that feels like there's something to look into, because oftentimes people suggest me to watch or look into a psychic that they know of, and I look at it and I'm thinking, well, this is just standard, nothing different from this person, from another person. I don't see anything unusual or interesting in this. It's just the same old tropes. And I can just explain it again to you, but it's the same things I'm saying in all the videos. Pay attention to the wording, and listen to actually what's being said, transcribe it if you can, go back and really watch it over again. There's nothing really new going on. I do like that they all have different styles. David says, I think it's interesting that Tyler Henry reads celebrities and doesn't always do them hot. I think he does all of them hot. I think David, I think he does all of his readings hot. This is the exception where he's not doing hot readings. I think almost always. I think that's part of the reason why he's going into so many tropes associated with cold reading, is because he's really not that good at cold reading. And I think that this is a example of Tyler Henry cold reading, which isn't very common. One of the things that Tyler Henry did, and I noticed this in his Hollywood Medium show, he was very good at, that I thought was different, was he used to give a long pause. So he would say something, and again, he's hot reading these people. He knows the answer. He would say something, and then he would sit quietly for a count of, I don't know, a while, and then the person would feel that awkwardness, and then they would insert in the information. And Tyler Henry did that, which is extremely different from all the other mediums I've seen do it. But so far in this series, I haven't seen him do it yet. And it might be because he doesn't want that long, awkward pause. It really feels bad here, and there's no editing being done, or because it's cold. So he would say something like, I'm seeing a man. Now, Tyler, remember, he's a hot reading, so he knows who it is who he's going to talk about. I'm seeing a man in a military uniform, and I think it's the Navy. Yeah, it's the symbol of the Navy. And he's there, and he's watching over you, and he has something very important to tell you. And it's like a count of 8 or 9, and it feels really awkward to have that long pause. And then that forces somebody to jump in with whatever it is that they're seeing and take it over. And sometimes you think on the Tyler Henry show, the Hollywood Medium, the sitter has more words than Tyler has. And that's because the motivated sitter is so badly wanting to interject themselves into the conversation, and to hook on to whatever it was that they're reading. Very interesting. It's a different style. Um, right. This is really great. Sharon Karen says YouTube, I think it's called Channeling Eric. Crazy how many people buy this person. I only saw one once because it's painful to watch, but I love your twist on this channel. Sharon, I do have a video on Channeling Eric on my channel. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, so this is really, really sad. And you're not kidding. This is very, very difficult to watch. So in different stages of grief, some people have, we all react a little bit differently, but some people have grief that is, oh God, I can never say this word, deliberate, beyond normal grief, grief that is lasting, grief that keeps you from moving on, grief that makes it impossible for you to function as you did before. And that's what I think is going on with Channeling Eric. And I've talked to a few licensed therapists who have given me feedback on this idea of grief, deep grief, the kind that probably needs medical help. People who are, it's on their mind constantly, they cannot get out of it. Not like an OCD necessarily, but maybe there is some OCD tendencies, obsessiveness. People die, it's part of life to die. And yes, it can be tragic at times. And I'm not here to tell anybody how to manage their grief, but Channeling Eric, and I'm going to just paraphrase because I don't have my notes in front of me, but Channeling Eric was a mother who was a medical doctor whose son, maybe in his 20s or his late teen years, unalived himself in her home, in his room. And that's important to the story because it's been years and she has closed up that room, and she has enough wealth that she can have a house that has a room in it that's never opened. And that's a sign of somebody who has some cash, because of course you being able to do that means that you have extra room in your house. So what the mother has done, she started reaching out to mediums. Okay, now when somebody unalives themselves, which is the YouTube word phrase I'm supposed to use, so I don't have problems with YouTube. When somebody does that, oftentimes there's a lot of questions because it's sudden, you don't see what's going on, and a lot of people feel guilt for not seeing the signs or not being able to stop it or whatever. So I think that would draw a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily go to a medium to go to a medium because they want answers. So this mother started going to mediums, and the mediums, in my opinion, smelled money, and they started circling this woman, and mediums would really grift on her, just really take advantage of her and say that they were seeing Eric, and that Eric is he's this great person on the other side, and he has wisdom for the world, and Eric is this and he's doing that. So once the medium starts hearing about specifics about Eric and learns about it, Eric, who he was, what his middle name was, what his dog's name was, other information they start gathering from the mother, then it makes it much more likely that they can continue during readings, like saying, hey, calling her up, whatever the equivalent to that is nowadays, Mom, we can see that Eric has a message. He has a message about something is happening in the world, or he has a message about something he's coming through, and I need to get a hold of you. Eric wants me to get a hold of you right now. I need to give you a reading. Of course, this all costs money, right? So the mom's got lots of money, so they're preying on this woman. Okay, from what I understand, the mother started this channel called, or I think it was the mother started it, called Channeling Eric. And she once in a while goes into the bedroom of her son that's closed off, windows closed, everything's closed. And she goes in with her phone recording. And because the room is never entered, except maybe once a month, there's a lot of dust in there. So when she enters the room, there's dust floating all over. And I think that's what the video is I have. And she calls them orbs and spirits and things that are all over the room. It's just dust. But she thinks of them as spirits and of her son. And the place is exactly as it was when he died. don't know if there's blood stains or not, but it is exactly the room he had whenever he was gone. He unalived himself. Okay, now again, I'm speaking off the top of my head. I can't quite remember. But what has happened is I believe the mother has lost her medical license. Again, grief, deep grief, to a point where you're not able to function normally. I think there's a lot of other stuff that I don't want to say out loud because I'm not quite sure about it, but I think a lot of other things started happening. And from what I understand, I think the mother has decided that she's now a medium in channeling Eric because now she was paying other people before, now she doesn't have to pay them. So she's channeling her son. So Sharon, Karen, if I've got that right, let me know. But there is a video I have on my feed because somebody else asked me to look into it, and I thought it was really sad and just very, 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 very bad for this poor mother who probably needs to seek out medication and or real therapy for what she's going through. It's very sad. So if you have others, please let me know. Like I said, I'm going to write this up for Skeptical Inquirer. Please check out my my work there, my body of work. I've been writing there for years, and there's a lot there. You can also go to my abouttimeproject.org website, which has an area of talking about grief vampires, which is a phrase that my partner, Mark Edward, who died in August 4th, International Psychic Day, he coined the phrase grief vampire. So thank you guys for being with me. I'm going to put this channel, I'm going to download it again. I'm going to leave it here on live, and then I'm going to take it and put it over to the other area. Thank you so much for showing up. I might do more of these because this felt really good to be able to have you guys here with real. Oh, Sharon says now she has this medium channeling cold cases like JonBenet Ramsey and others crazy. Oh my gosh, I can't even. I feel so bad for those families. I mean, not only have they had their families like McCain, what was her little girl in Spain? Yeah, thank you, David. I really appreciate you here. It's great seeing you. Well, not seeing you, but knowing you're here is fun. Hopefully I'll be back in LA again. And Richard, of course, thank you. I really appreciate it. If it's Saunders, that is. I don't know if it just is Richard. I don't know. It could be any Richard. Yeah, and thank you, Sharon. No, I'm okay. Everything's great. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. So, if I do these, I will try to find a time that works well for other people, and I'll try to just do them on a regular basis, and then people will know when to kind of check in with me. So